up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 136 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
I'm worried that somebody's saying I didn't blink enough, and that's what did this to me. So now I'm just going to take long, healthy blinks that might look like I'm sleeping throughout the show, but I'm really healing.
But I think it's a quantity thing, not a quality thing.
Oh, really?
You don't need to take good blinks. You need to take a lot of blinks.
I don't think I was so into Destiny that I wasn't blinking yesterday.
I think you were. And joining us for the first time, you know him as the writer of Spec Ops: The Line, the upcoming Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Significant Zero,
a book
coming out Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday, September 19th.
Boom. Kevin's mom's birthday.
Happy birthday, Kevin's mom.
Happy birthday. What better gift than that?
What
just
a great
for you.
present. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Walt Williams, just in case you didn't know.
You got it all front-loaded for who he was, but then never said his name.
Oh, I didn't?
Walt Williams, friend of the show.
You're right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes.
What is Significant Zero about, Walt?
Significant Zero is
You
about...
gotta get up on there.
Right up on it, just like this, and I'm going to try to remember it. I'm going to hold it real tight while I talk. Significant Zero is about my time working in the AAA game industry, kind of coming out of backwoods Louisiana, how I got from there to New York, and worked my way up through publishing development to eventually write games. Like you said, Spec Ops: The Line, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and work on behind-the-scenes stuff like Bioshock, Civilization, Borderlands, games like that, and kind of pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to make a AAA game on all the different sides and kind of the human side of that. And because I feel like in video games, we're always so focused on the player. We're so rarely really getting the story behind the scenes of just the day-to-day stuff of why we choose to do what we do and make these games. And I wanted to get something out there so that people could really see what all these people are going through and why we do what we do, because it's a tough industry. And we don't talk about it a lot, but that's ultimately we do it because we love it. Like there's a passion, there's a fire in so many people I've worked with, and I wanted to get a story out there so that the people playing games could kind of see that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to dive into this later. Later, Tim. Don't worry.
Okay.
You run your show. I'll let you do it.
Where could people get the book?
You can get the book on Amazon.
Oh,
you can get it on Barnes & Noble.
Easy.
Booksamillion.com. You can go to your local
Booksamillion.com.
That's a place, yes.
Wow.
You could also go to your local booksellers, independent or otherwise. It will be there. It's on Kindle. It's on Audible. There's an audiobook. And
Who reads the Audible book?
Someone whose name I don't know off the top of my head, but it wasn't me.
William
Still
Shatner.
really good though. If only. If only. But yeah, it's any possible format you could want, and it'll be out Tuesday, September 19th. And we can talk more about it later.
Oh, I like that a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together, talk about video games, all the things we love about them, and all of that jazz. You can watch it early and live with us by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Or if you don't want to watch live, you can watch it at your leisure when it comes early to you on Fridays. Or you can wait and get it on Monday, like all the peasants on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames.
We love you, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames subscribers.
I'd be one of those peasants.
You would be? You wouldn't support us for $1?
I'd support, but then I probably wouldn't get to watch it.
That's a big thing that
I just want to
happens.
support these guys.
The amount of
they seem
people,
like some bang up fellows.
The amount of people who can watch the listen to the MP3 or watch the video is ginormous. So many people support us on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, but the views on those early episodes never the same. It's not one-to-one. People are there because they like the product, and we appreciate that. They want to see Andy get paid. We appreciate that.
And he needs to get paid. Greg,
Yeah.
what have you been playing this week?
Destiny.
Destiny 2.
Nonstop.
Taking you over.
It's
blowing
done.
out your eye.
Yes, if you're an audio listener and we're wondering about the blinking thing, and even if you're a video, Kevin, do we have Skycam? Yes. Is Skycam going to be the best way to look at my gross eye?
No, probably cutting deep.
Okay.
Warning. Things are about to get
If
nasty.
you're an audio listener, count yourself lucky you don't have to see this. If you're a video listener, put down your oatmeal flakes. If what? Was the eye a sign of a coming stroke? Put down your oatmeal flakes, kids. And then, so you tell me, Kevin. All right, then I'm going to look over there like that.
Oh,
Do you see it?
God.
see it.
You see it?
No,
Does
we
it look
see
bad?
It's even worse.
Is
on
it getting
film.
better?
God.
Is it getting better?
No.
So I played Destiny 2 for 9 hours straight yesterday. Took a day off work, Walt. I don't take many breaks.
Yeah.
And so what happened is Destiny comes out. I'm excited.
Right.
But I don't, beforehand, I'm like, am I going to be into it? I want to play it. I'm excited for it. We get it. I'm all in. I'm crazy about it. I'm nuts about it. I want to play it nonstop. We get to the weekend, though. Jen's older sister, a lovely woman, comes in to stay with us to visit. Hasn't seen her sister in a while because this whole she's Canadian. I brought her in here. She
Mistake
can't go
number-
back.
Yeah.
It's
Mistake number
I
two.
miss my family. I wish I could work. You know,
Mistake
just
number
yak,
3,
yak,
4,
yak.
and
This
5,
wife
yeah.
of mine. I don't listen to her. But Gab comes to visit. Everyone's excited. I'm excited. I like Gab. I want to hang out with her, but I want to play some Destiny too. But I'm like, I'm fine. Blah, blah. Wake up on Sunday to go do a lovely day of touristy but fun activities in San Francisco. Which go to the picnic at the Presidio, eat wings, fried chicken, drink beers. I love this event.
Yes.
However, wake up grumpy. I'm grumpy throughout the day, and Jen's finally like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I don't know. I am just mad. I am mad all the time. I want to play Destiny, and I know that's a selfish thing to say. But she's like, you realize you haven't had a weekend off in like 4 or 5 weeks. I'm like, that's probably why it's all built up and exploded. And she's like, take Wednesday off. Just play the game. And I'm like, thanks, babe. And I did. And it was fucking amazing. And it was phenomenal. And then I went out last night for drinks at a fancy place with Eric Castro, his wife, Sin, his girlfriend. And then I woke up this morning and I walked into the bathroom. I looked in the mirror and I got this weird bloodshot. Not even bloodshot. It like I said in the morning show. I knew a girl in high school who drank too much at a party and then vomited so violently she burst all the blood vessels in her eye. She's had a red eye.
See, that makes sense.
Like Final Destination.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
And I didn't do that. And it's not that, but it's somewhere between. It's somewhere between a bloodshot eye and then the all red eye, where I just have this like line that is almost like with my eyelid, where it looks like maybe did I hit myself in the face
You
last
must
night?
have.
You might have.
It's not Destiny's fault. I stand by this. It's not the video game's fault.
I appreciate that.
That whatever is happening with your face right now, doesn't just come from looking at a screen, even if it is 9 hours.
I think it's
buy it.
absolutely Destiny's fault.
Okay.
100%.
Oh, wow.
And
We
it's
have
something. It's a
conflicting
message
opinions.
we need to get out there to the public that Destiny is dangerous.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Destiny
Good.
can
Make you
hurt
blind.
you.
I'm gonna
That
find Jack
masturbating.
Thompson, and we're gonna get a lawsuit
Absolutely.
going here. And we're gonna figure it out. I think he's been disbarred in every state, but I'm gonna figure it out, and we're gonna get to it and go for it.
So Destiny.
Destiny 2.
Yeah.
What a fantastic fucking game, Tim.
You talked about it last week with Andy, I imagine.
This is all we talk about now.
Okay.
It's that
All
kind of
Destiny
game.
all the time.
Whenever Andrea's on the Games Daily show, that's what we're talking about. When me and Andy are talking about something else work related, we're like, do you want to just fucking quit though and go play Destiny all the time? We're like, yes, we do. And then last week's
MLG.
Gamescast was all Destiny 2.
Have you played Destiny 2?
I have never played Destiny 1 or 2.
Yeah, me neither. So it's all good.
I have never even been in a room where Destiny is being played. Wow.
You could not identify it via screenshots?
I have possibly seen a picture at one point in time, but I wouldn't really be willing to bet on that. Please, tell me about the Destiny.
In Destiny, there's space, and you're in it, and you're getting stuff, and there's Ingrams, and you're on this loot treadmill, and just getting better stuff.
Okay, so I was with
nonstop.
you until Ingrams. What's an Ingram? Is that
there-
like a money thing? What are we talking about?
No, it's loot.
Just
So-
old women, Ingram? No?
No,
Money, loot.
I see what
Okay.
you're doing. I see what you're doing. No, you kill stuff, you do missions, whatever, and every so often these Ingrams drop that are like
okay.
little, they look like little, like hexagons, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not that kind of.
It's a shape.
They're, yeah. Oh, you know what they look like? Here's what they look like. They look like gushers. Gushers drop.
They do look
Okay.
like guns.
Yeah. And they got
Now
different
I'm with
colors
you.
and they're different rarities, and you pick them up and you get items out of it, and you put on gear and get better guns and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and you go do it over and over and over and over and over again.
So it's just a treasure chest, basically.
100%.
Okay.
I was trying to
could've
explain
said
it on Games Daily this
The
week.
shape did not matter.
On Games Daily this week, we were talking about it, and it was this thing where Destiny, even though you're not playing it,
Right.
it's sweeping the industry, right? There it is. There's the gusher. There you go.
that's
the gusher.
absolutely a gusher. Totally.
It's sweeping the industry. Everybody's talking about it. So a lot of kids are writing in and being like, one of the ones we read was like, hey, I don't play Destiny. I'm not good at first-person shooters. Should I try Destiny? And what I said that I stand by and stick with me is it's like a first-person MMO.
Okay.
And it's not an MMO. It is, but it isn't, in terms. But what I mean is in the MMO, right? Like when you're running around and just clicking and killing things over and over and over again,
Yeah.
the enemies aren't that tough. You die, there's usually not a big buff to you dying or a
Right.
problem with you dying. That's the same thing here. It's that kind of gameplay in first person where you're running through and you kill all the ads and get better gear and you go on. It's Diablo in first person. You're running down and doing all these different things. So I was trying to sell this kid on playing it because it's not, I like Call of Duty story. I don't ever play Call of Duty multiplayer. Like that's not what I want to do. And I don't play PvP in Destiny.
So multiplayer is not a necessarily big part to enjoy it. You don't have
in
to.
endgame stuff for
Okay,
sure.
in endgame,
but
yeah,
like when you
okay.
play through the first part, you could just play through it and do all the stuff. And it might be tough here and there, but if you keep on leveling up and doing all this other stuff, it's amazing. And what Destiny 2 gets so right via Destiny, or in comparison to Destiny 1, is how much shit there is to do.
Yeah.
How good the story is, how good the writing is. Like Failsafe is his character in the game that's hilarious and awesome. And when I'm doing her quest out there and it's Nolan North as Ghost making jokes to me or talking to me and then getting mad at Failsafe and their banter, it's like, this is fucking cool, and you're earning cool rewards and getting cool weapons and feel like you're making progress. And then there is the idea of like jumping in and playing. Like, yesterday it was like I finally sat down. I'm like, I'm getting into it. And I hit up I'm like, who wants to play? These are the hours I'll be playing. And I had this one guy with me for, I would say, of the 9 hours, 5 of them. And like we cycle in a third person every so often. Somebody else have to go to bed or get up for work, or depending on time zones. And so it was this thing that now that it's endgame, I am playing with people, and that's the way it's gonna have to be, and like to do raids and stuff. And like today, I keep trying, stand by. I'm trying to open up the Kind of Funny clan to everybody, but for some reason it keeps crashing when I try to do that through the website, so that sucks. But before, my whole thing is when we started this, I complained on the show that like, if you want to do a Destiny clan, just go do a Destiny clan. Me and Andy are going to start our own, but we need to see, because I didn't want to start something and then have kids join it and feel like they were going to get this great experience and then have it turn out that I burn out a week in, or I don't want to play the game anymore, or whatever. Now that I'm all in, I want to be playing this. I want to be raiding. I want to be doing this.
I have questions.
Lay it on me. So I'm not this kind of gamer usually.
No, this raid business, right? Yeah. The raid came out yesterday. As the time of recording.
As of recording, it came out on Wednesday. We're recording on Thursday.
So you need to be, I am completely unfamiliar with this style of game. You need to be at a certain level to be able to do the raid, or just it's recommended?
It's right now. Well, there's 260 is you have to be 260 power level to be able to do the raid. If you went in at 260, what I've heard is you'll just get your fucking face kicked in. Okay. Like it's that thing. It's like Luke Smith tweeted that it was between 260 and 280 was the recommended power level to do the raid or whatever. But
have people beat the raid yet?
Yes.
Have a lot of people beat the raid?
No. It was a big deal yesterday.
Has
when
Alfredo
the first group
beat the raid?
I have not seen Alfredo beat the raid or talk about beating the raid, but I wouldn't put it past him that he has.
Okay.
But because he must have, because I saw like Fran talked about doing it and stuff like that. And if Fran can fucking do it, Alfredo's doing it. But the raid is like, if you go in blind, it's supposed to be like 8 hours or whatever of you trying to figure stuff out and stuff.
That seems excessive.
Now you can save and stop and leave and come back and stuff.
Okay, you can.
But
that's nice.
The hardcore kids are like, no, they're in this, and that was the big thing yesterday. Like it was awesome. As somebody who Destiny 1 pops. I play through Destiny 1 to 20 or whatever. I get to the end game stuff, and when I got into the end game stuff, it was, oh fuck, I could see it. I'm like, this is just grinding, and in Destiny 1 there wasn't as much content, so it was like, not only is this just grinding, it's grinding boring ass shit. I'll see you guys later, and I peaced out and never really came back. And like people got ahead of me, and there was a million other problems. So I wasn't there when the first raid dropped and people actually cared about it. So now that I'm in it, I care about it, and I'm 273 right now in terms of power. I'm gonna go home tonight, knock on wood, if we get done early enough, and try to play with Andrea a little bit and see if I can do it. Because it is the same thing too, where you play and there's different segments of the raid, and you get better gear in those segments anyway. So even if I go in there underpowered, if I can help for the first 2 or 3 sections, I'm gonna get better gear. Yeah, exactly. Yesterday there was a really cool thing, and this has probably happened before, but for me it's my first time seeing this and following Bungie, where there was these screenshots and video of Bungie in their giant conference room with these giant screens watching. They had segmented the screen up to watch a whole bunch of different like pro Destiny groups try to go through and do the raid, and then there was a video of them all freaking out when one of the groups actually did it and beat it, like became the first people to do it. It was like, that's such a cool community thing. And that's like the thing about it right now, a week removed from last time talking about Destiny 2 on Gamescast, where I was very much like, kept looking at the camera like, I don't know what they're talking about. I love this game. Because Andy and Andrea were both like, not critical in a bad way, but it was the normal situation where like, yes, it's Destiny, we love it. Here's our problems with it, and here's what we're upset about.
And Andy's stepped that back a bit too.
Of course, because he is a flip-flopper.
He is not a flip-flopper.
He's got the most pretentious hair.
I hate you.
Hey, I'm just saying what I read on Reddit.
All right.
No, for me now here, it's this interesting thing of being a part of an online community, which is so rare for me, and maybe not so much this year with Friday the 13th or Marvel Heroes Omega, other games I've gotten into, but Marvel Heroes Omega, it's just me running around with seeing other people. I'm not playing with other people. Friday the 13th, it's just me doing private rooms with the Kind of Funny best friends, and so that's just hanging out with people. This being part of something that is so diverse and having people write in to Games Daily where they're like, hey, I am from this subreddit that's just Sherpas, and we'll take anybody through the raid, but we won't teach them. Like, we'll be there to answer questions, but not do that. And like, come join us. And like the way the Destiny community now that like, it's like anything else in gaming where I moved this rock, and then like, oh my god, there's this whole thing happening here that I wasn't really part of before. And like I used to see Alfredo tweet about, we're trying to be the first in the world to beat the raid and for Destiny 1, but it's like, all right, good for you. Like I didn't realize that was like a competitive thing that there was all these people trying to do, and it seems so positive in the way that they're not tearing each other down. All the Destiny people who write in and want to help each other, or last night when I was tweeting out like, hey, this is what I'm doing, who wants to jump in? The amount of people that jumped in and were just like, nah, cool, let's go. And like, you know, I closed out my night last night playing with Zyger for a bit, and it was like, Zyger's done all these missions before, and he's just like, he's quiet, he's letting me figure it out and do all this different stuff, and it's like, it's such a fun, chill, let's all get in there and play and just have conversations and talk about whatever. And like, I know I need to talk to Alex O'Neill about something, right? And we've been trying to set up calls, and I'm like, we should probably just play Destiny. You just get in here and we just do a private room, we'll go talk and shoot, because it is that so this is the best part. Back to this thing of like how I don't play these games and I don't do this, and I never rated in the original Destiny. I got to the edge here and almost fucked it up. The Nightfall raid, not the raid, the Nightfall mission, which is a mission that's hard. You go out there, you get better rewards, stuff, right? It was a big deal when this popped, and it was the first thing to do, and it's the first like milestone of like, all right, cool, you're at 230, I think it is. You can go in and do this thing. I went in and did it yesterday with that kid I had played with and one of his friends. And when we went in there, we're playing, and we went through the first 2 or 3 times and just got destroyed or whatever. But then when we came in, we played a little bit longer, grounded out, came back in. And it was somewhere in the middle where I was like, this is fucking awesome. Because it was all of a sudden a 180 from how we'd been playing the game before, where it is running and shooting. This one was, all right, this is tough. Here's what's going to, before we're sitting in there at the tower, and he's like, Greg, what are you running as your secondary? All right, I'm running this arc gun. All right, well, do you have a void gun? Yeah. Oh, you put on your void. He's going to put on his arc. What special are you running? Da, da, da. And it was all this like real setup for a battle. And then when we got in there, like, you know, it's down in the corner, it's popping up and it's telling you like, everybody's using arc now, or like, you know, it's telling you what the enemies are running, and if you shoot them with that gun, you're going to do better damage. And so it was this thing where we were running, and this guy was calling it out like a team leader to everybody of like, all right, cool, it just went to void. Greg, switch to your second. I'm like, I'm on it. And it was like when we make fun of the E3
Ubisoft
demos,
press conferences.
when we make fun of the E3 demos, where it's like, all right, this guy's really tough. We better be. And it's totally thing. I'm popping my super. All right, do this. Oh my god, I'm in over my head. Wait, and it was like, it really was that. And as somebody who's never actually experienced that, to be playing that and be like, fuck, this is just like the E3 demo. And it isn't cheesy because it always comes off so cheesy in the demos.
Oh, but good shot, man.
To be in there in that moment, it really was like, fuck, we're living that demo, and it's awesome. Like, I love this coordination and like the satisfaction of getting there, and you know, to have failed so many times at this mission, because time is counting down. You have, I believe, 10 minutes to finish it. But as you go, there's these rings you can jump through that'll add 30 seconds. Right. And then there's this one really tough part from the beta people might remember of these grinder wheels swinging around like they're making a quarry or whatever. You have to dodge, but then you're dodging those, but then trying to get through these circles or whatever. So like when we cleared it on the time we beat it and we got down and we're like, holy shit, we have like 7 minutes. We got this. And like, and then we're just like fucking beating the shit out of it. It was like, damn, this is awesome. Like, what a fucking experience.
Okay, so as someone who hasn't played Destiny 1 or 2 at all, I picked up about half of that. Because
I know.
Most of the time I was trying to figure out why Professional Sherpas had a subreddit to talk about Destiny, and I came back in right around this time you started talking about jumping through rings. Yeah. So that sounded cool. I do like jumping through rings.
Yeah, Joe, who does
so I think 64? I might check it out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I keep seeing on Twitter people complaining about shaders.
Shaders been a big complaint.
You have felt angry about that, I feel. What's the thing with the shaders? What's going on with that?
The idea is this, and I'll summarize because I know it's a horse that's been beaten to death. Then we brought it back to life and beat it again. Is the idea that in Destiny 1, you'd unlock shaders, right? And then you would go, I love this shader. I want to put it on my equipment. And you put it on your equipment, and then you get a new shader. I want to put that on my equipment. You put it on, play for a few hours, whatever. Yeah. You know what? I want to go back to the other shader. Oh, I found another shader. I'm going to switch this, that, blah, blah. This is great. This is great. You got them. You owned them. You could switch them at your leisure. Destiny 2, they are consumable now. Oh. So what it is that, all right, cool, I got this shader. I want to apply it to this chess piece, which sounds fine in principle, but then it's like, okay, Destiny 2 is all about getting new loot. So it's like, now I got a new chess piece, and you put that on, and it doesn't carry the shader anymore. Right. And that shader is now permanently painted on the other one. And if it was the one shader, like, I want my whole outfit to be black and gold, which I do. And so it's like, all right, cool. I have 4 pieces that need it. I have 2 of the shaders. And so it's like, all right, can't go buy them. Like,
so you can't. They come and loot.
what you do is so this is where it gets interesting why people got so mad is that you go to this one woman who's selling bright engrams that you can go in there and pay real money for. But the problem is it's a random drop of what shader you're going to get in there. You don't know
That's
exactly what you're going to
not
get.
fair,
Yeah. And so like she has daily deals or whatever where you can use dust to buy some shaders, but it's not all shaders, and you don't dust. It's just a bunch of hoops to jump through. And so the big argument is, well, it sucks. I wish I owned them forever, blah, blah, blah. My main thing is, as somebody who, I like to, I'm not well off by any means, but like I like to pay developers for games I really enjoy. And so I really enjoy Destiny, right? Yeah. So if it was like, fuck, all right, cool, I'm going to go to the store and just buy those shaders. Okay. You know what I mean? Like you've earned that, but it's this fact of, I'll have the gear all pimped out the way I want to. I put up a screenshot on Twitter, and then it starts where this is better and that's better, and then I'm a hodgepodge of colors, and I can't
Skittles pack.
Exactly, I can't get exactly what I want without having to wait forever for it to go. Blah blah. And Luke Smith says, well, shaders are meant to be there as rewards for certain missions and this, that, and the other, so you can start to do it and plan where you're going to be, but that's a lot of work, and it's not advertised that way. And do I want to go into defense? It's just the
No, that makes sense. I mean, that would anger me too, because like some days. It's like maybe I want to have a purple day.
Exactly.
And so maybe I want to have a black day. And you want to have that one, especially if you're paying like real money for that.
Yeah.
At least you would want to have the option to pay real money for exactly the color you want.
And you can get them from the game, dropping them that. And you do get a lot. I do have a ton of shaders, but it is like, I had this, I think it was Dust and Dawn one, Tim. Fucking choice. It's this metallic hot pink, hot blue. And so I put it on my chest piece, and then I put it on the pants, but then I didn't have another one. So my arms didn't have it, my cape didn't have it. So I'm like mixing and matching, and then I got better armor and I put that on and I didn't have it. And it's just like, it would be much cooler, I think, to go boom, be done with it. Yeah. But you can do it to your guns too. But this is the thing where everybody got so mad about it because Destiny 2 has done so much right. Yeah. It's done so much right. It's such a great game. It's so much fun. It's funny. It's interesting. There's so much content. They've nailed so much of it that then this like one annoyance. Because I saw somebody tweet today of like, that game I've played for 100 hours is awesome, but I'm fucking furious that I can't, like in perspective, who the fuck cares? Like I don't mind looking stupid, especially because it's first person for the most part. It's not until I go to my menu that I really think about it. But there's also like, there's now, it's bad, but it's not as bad in the way that you do get shaders pretty plentifully. When you get a piece of armor you do like, if it's legendary or exotic, you can infuse it with the new stuff so that you're keeping the look. So if I love that chest piece and I made it a certain color, I keep finding better things. I can infuse it to get those stats, but keep it looking the same.
That's a nice.
But then I'm spending legendary. Like there's all these little things, but then what if I get the exotic and It's a whole rigmarole. But it's fucking worth it. Destiny 2 is awesome. The day totally worked. I'm no longer grumpy. I came in today. I ironed my shirts. I cleaned up the house this morning. I feel like you need that one every so often. Reset. That selfish child day to be then come back to be a real adult in this world. But it's like all I want to do is go home and play more. But it's not behind my eyes digging on me the way it was leading into this. And I know that's now it's in front of my eye. We have to figure this out. Is there an optometrist in the comments to respond and tell me what I did? I have emailed the staff page of my optometrist. We'll see if they check that email.
Walt, what have you been playing?
So here's the thing. I've got a 17-month-old baby.
Oh, no.
So I haven't been playing anything. I've played very
sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. She's super sweet.
Yeah?
She's taken all of my time. Her name is Parker. She's adorable. Hi, Parker. You're not watching, nor can you speak English, but hello. She's great. But my gaming has plummeted drastically since I had a child. You replace it with other things like actual happiness, which is wonderful. I can look at my daughter and simply be, joy. But I don't get to play that much anymore. What I have played in the past 17 months, I made it through Night in the Woods, which might be one of my favorite games in years. That hit me in all the right spots. Final Fantasy 15.
Time out. I want to give Night in the Woods more credit because this is a game that when it was coming up on release, the developers and a whole bunch of people were like, "This is a Greg game. This is like Gone Home-ish. You need to play this. You need to play this." And I missed it, and so I started it with Jen a few weeks ago, maybe months ago now, time loses all meaning, and played, I forget if like an hour and a half of it, and enjoyed it and stepped away, and I fucked up and didn't go back to it right away. Yeah. So but I need to go back to it.
Okay, so that happened to me. I started playing it and got about an hour in and stopped. Yeah. And then I didn't go back for maybe a month or two. And then I was like, something about it, I think maybe someone tweeted about it, or I saw a piece of the art again, and the visual style is so enticing. It's so beautiful. And I just recently moved back to my original hometown, kind of middle America, southern small town thing, which is kind of the setup for Night in the Woods. So I was like, emotionally, I'm connecting with this. Let's just do it. Let's jump back in. And over the course of a week, every night after I put my daughter down to bed, I would go upstairs, have a drink for Daddy, and just sit down with my PS4 and try to play at least 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
And it became to a thing. Now, here's an interesting thing I liked about the game. Maybe you got this far, where at the end of your day in the game, you go to bed.
Yeah.
So once I really started getting into it, I was like, okay, I'm going to play 1 day in the game every day.
Yeah.
And then when my character goes to bed, I'm going to go to bed.
Nice.
And I'm going to go a little sleep because now I've been drinking a little too more. So it's hard to get too much into it without spoiling things because there's a lot of narrative intricacy to it. But it's a game that, as someone who writes games, it really affected me because it was clear that the people who made this game love every single character. Every single character is adored. There isn't anyone in this game that you feel like the writing or the story or the creators are making fun of. They don't exist just to be mocked. Everyone is fully three-dimensional and flawed and beautiful in their own way.
Yeah.
Even if they might be a villain in the broader story. And no one really falls in the category too much, but it just, there's so much love. And I use that word precisely. You can feel it in the game.
Yeah.
And the writing is phenomenal. And there's, you're going to your old town mall, which is, if you've ever been home and you've been to the mall that you grew up in, and now it's like nothing but empty stores, like, that feel, that sadness of like, where's everything?
Well, that was
going into your Hot Topic, trying to steal a wallet.
As somebody, right, who like moved away, grew up in Chicago, moved away from the suburbs, and then to come back for whatever holiday or whatever, funeral or whatever the hell it's going to be, to get there and see the people that I associate with, my friends with high school and home, and the way their lives have changed, and that nothing is the same that I think of it, right? That whole place is a time capsule to me, and I go there and it's like, oh, right, no, you've all been living lives and doing things and seeing each other. And like, even from the little bit I played of it, of her coming back and going in and reuniting with her friends and trying to catch up with certain people, it's like, oh, right, like, this is hitting, I understand the threads of it.
Yeah. So I think you should definitely go back and check it out. Once you hit
both eyes
that
explode.
Destiny fix thing, of course. Have you managed to play it at all?
I have not. No.
You should check it. Is this your kind of game? You and I've never talked about games before, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't. Is this the one with the cute little animal?
The cat.
Yeah, everyone's an animal.
Cool.
There's a goth alligator.
Fun.
Love. As a Louisiana boy. A grumpy Louisiana boy, actually. I mean, again, I don't want to say too much.
Okay.
But I think it's
how long
absolute.
Is it?
It took me about 13 hours maybe total, which is kind of just beyond my sweet spot. I like a game that's going to be right now between about 5 and 8.
That's right where I'm.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
But it was so good and pulled me in so much
So you're like,
that I
"That's
was
worth it."
totally cool giving it about 15 hours or so.
Yeah, Andy loved it.
What I hold out hope for with Night in the Woods is what literally everyone on GAF says about every game, but like Switch.
Yeah.
If it came to Switch, I feel like that would be such a great, I'm on a plane, let's get into this world and this narrative adventure, blah, blah. Whereas when I come home to the PlayStation, not that I need explosions and fucking HD visuals, but it's like, there's so many bigger experiences, whether it be Destiny, whether it be something, Friday the 13th, something that's ongoing that I don't feel like, wait, where was I and what's happening? I feel like if I had it for a trip, it'd be great.
So here's the thing. I don't own a Switch. I was
You
gonna
son of a bitch.
I was
Got it,
gonna
man.
buy one.
Gotta get it.
I was gonna
Gotta
buy
get it.
one. But I went over to a friend's house. There was the whole thing. It was hard to get it first.
Sure.
It was like a day one exclusive for Zelda. If you got Zelda, you could get a Switch. I wasn't there day one, so I didn't get one.
Yeah.
Went over to a friend's house. After a couple months, I was really everyone was just talking about how great Zelda was. And I'm there seeing their new baby, and I'm
So many
like, hey
babies.
man, what if we fire up the real pretty thing over there, that little Switch? Let me take it for a spin. And he turns it on. He's like, oh man, you're gonna love Zelda. It's so great. You can literally climb anything in the game. I'm like, awesome. And I walk straight over to a wall that you cannot climb. He's like,
the
okay,
shrine walls.
well, not everything. You can't climb that. I was like, oh, so it's just a video game. I'm done with you, Zelda.
You broke the Switch over your knee.
And
He's
I
like,
was
that's
like,
mine.
I'm not gonna get a Switch now. And like,
Oh, man. That is a mistake.
here's what you want to know what's actually convinced me to now go buy a Switch?
Yeah.
Sonic.
Dude,
Everyone
really?
talking about Sonic
Dude. All right.
seems so
Let me
good.
this
tell
is
you.
Sonic fanboy
Sonic
number one.
Mania is like one of probably top 3 for my game of the year so far. Like it is. If you like Sonic games at all, it is the ultimate Sonic game.
Really?
It is such a love letter to what makes those games good, and it takes away so much of what makes them bad. Not all of it, though, because that's part of the charm of what Sonic is. The music is it's unreal. It's so... There's just love. There's so much love put into the game.
That makes me very happy. You actually may have finally completely sold me on the Switch
I think
now,
I
just
beat
for
it
that.
like 4 times already.
Really?
And, like,
Wow.
I want to just keep going back because like there's no platinum trophy, but I want 100% it in the way that if there was, I would have got it.
Okay, so as a Sonic fan, I have to ask.
Yes.
Eggman, Dr. Robotnik.
Robotnik, are you kidding me? Yeah, duh. Fucking this Eggman bullshit.
man.
Although they call him Eggman in this licensing and all that
Whatever.
shit. It's garbage. But you could also play Sonic on any other system.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
I thought it was
Sonic-
just on Switch.
No, Sonic Mania
We
is
almost
on.
had him. We almost had him. You just let him off the
well,
Switch hook,
yeah.
you dick.
It's PS4, Xbox One, PC, Switch. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
I'd get it on Switch.
You
though.
just saved me like $250.
No, man, you gotta do it because I played it on PS4
Yeah.
first, and then but I wanted to play it on Switch, but we didn't get Coastal later. Then I went back, and it's at home on the Switch.
Yeah.
It feels right.
Honestly, like it sounds like now they're getting a lot of virtual console stuff coming onto the Switch. No,
Arcade, Nintendo Arcade, or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah,
Versus
okay.
Arcade.
It's not virtual. console.
No, not virtual console yet. Okay. Eventually, I will eventually get a Switch.
Yeah.
My
Mario.
daughter is going to go to college in at least 16 and a half years. I will be able to get a Switch somewhere
Easily.
in that window.
Yeah,
It will
hopefully.
happen. But when I do, I'm very excited to play Sonic Mania, and I'll even hold off. You know what? I got birthday coming up. A little Christmas,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, treat
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
You got
That's
it, man. No,
right.
Sonic Mania is worth it though.
Okay.
It's a fantastic game.
Nice.
Any other games you've been able to play
Let's
in the
see.
17
You said
months?
Final
I said
Fantasy.
Final
Oh, yeah,
Fantasy
Final
15.
Fantasy
That's
15.
a weird one with your limited time to play games. You're like, I'll jump into this giant
here's the thing.
JRPG.
Final
on me.
Fantasy, and when you read Significant Zero, you'll learn
Oh, this
more
book
about
that's available
this.
Tuesday? You
That's right, September 19th.
can get it on bookit.com.
Final Fantasy is one of the games that's one of the first games I've ever fell in love with, and I've played every Final Fantasy that was not an MMO, no matter what I had to
might
track
have
it
to do
down, a bootleg version or what.
Sure.
And so when Final Fantasy 15 came out, I was like, of course I'm gonna play it. It's a numbered Final Fantasy. I'm just gonna do it.
Decade in the making.
Yes.
You got to do it.
And, you know, I actually liked the whole boy band simulator aspect
Love
of
it.
it. Because here's what I loved about Final Fantasy Kid. I knew that every single game was going to be different in some way. It was going to be a different experience, a different world, a different story for me to explore. There were going to be some of the same things, like the Moogles would be there, the Black Mages would be there, whatever. But ultimately, every game was brand new. And so I wasn't, when they first started showing the whole boy band thing, I was like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for in Final Fantasy, but I'm not going to get upset at it for doing what I want it to do, which is give me something I'm not expecting. So I'm all in for that. And that's about where my love for it stopped.
Okay.
It has honestly one of my favorite setups out of a Final Fantasy game in years, but clearly it went through so many cuts and so many troubles in development. As someone, who's been making games for over 12 years, like I understand how that can go.
Did you beat it?
I did.
Okay.
I beat it all the way through. I'm glad that I did. But, and also, I'm kind of glad that it did have all those cuts because I was able to beat it in 25 hours. So that's a lot less time than I thought I was going to have to commit
Sure.
to it. There were moments of genuine joy, but overall, I was a little disappointed. And it was just because clearly so much had been cut out. And I don't want to hate on the developer for that. That's not their fault. Sometimes things happen. You have to do that.
There's so much that happened though, and that's the sad part about it because I agree with you. It is one of the strongest openings to a Final Fantasy game, if not any game. It's so much fun, and I love the idea of car breaks down. The plot of it is you're on a road trip for essentially a bachelor party.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
But then immediately they mess up the story. And I feel like as soon as it gets that phone call that it goes back to like, oh man, shit's going down back at home, that's where it all falls apart. And it's like the plot never really is fully explained. And it kind of just little things happen here and there. And I don't feel like there was enough narrative to justify all
Did
the
you watch
gameplay.
the movie?
I did.
Okay, because I did, and I felt like that at least gave me enough to
it gave me
piece things together.
context, but it didn't. I obviously wanted the movie to help the game, not to be something necessary for the game to make
absolutely.
any sense at all. But then I agree with you where it's at the end of it. I loved that. I loved the end of the game, and I loved the story pieces and how it all ended up. I'm like, this is great.
What did you think about Prince Noctis suddenly turning into Connor Oberst for the last mission? That seemed very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. It's just like once you get to the end of video games, it's always like, we got to do something to make it like different than the rest of the game, and I didn't love
Kids
that.
love that. I don't know why games get that wrong all the time. Where I'm like, there's so many video games, and it's better, I think, now than it used to be. But there's so many games where I'd put it down and somebody asked me, I'm like, I don't understand why developers choose that they want to leave you frustrated as the final note of their game. Like when you get to a boss fight that's using mechanics that are totally weird, when you have to do something
Devil May Cry.
completely out of the ordinary to go, like, I didn't play this game to play this kind of thing, and I've enjoyed the entire run, but now what I remember is trying 30 times to beat this boss and getting fucking frustrated and it being cheap and this being terrible.
We want you to feel we want it to feel special for you. That's what it comes down to, is we're hoping that what we've designed is going to build enough off of the things that you've learned to where it'll present you a challenge, because it's just different enough that you don't come into it instinctively, but it's also new enough that it's going to feel exciting and special. And you're right, sometimes we totally brick it. We just completely go off the rails with that. But the intention is always to try and give you something memorable and different and special when that happens.
And I feel like people have gotten better about it nowadays, where it is like, no, you're still with the same mechanics. No, we know the game was strong enough that we can give you an end boss fight that isn't super out of the ordinary and super weird, and like that catches you off guard and isn't fun. And I think about like when you look at the Uncharted ending boss battles, right? Where it's like Uncharted 1 ends and it's like this weird fist fight that you have not done at all this entire game. It's like, why is this weird ass mechanic there? And then to beat, Lost Legacy and be like, cool, I've done this before in this game. I understand how all this all builds together. And again, that entire journey is interesting, not that one boss fight they want to make it. But I understand too of like, you've built me in video games in general, you've built me up to be the ultimate character, but here's my ultimate villain. How can he really match you in a way that isn't super?
Well, I think it comes back to the gameplay, and it's like, is it something where it's like you've earned your skills over the experience, and now this is a thing of like challenging you with that, and it can be a slight twist, but it's when it's completely different that I don't like it. Like Halo, I think is a great example. Halo 1 is a great example of, you've been using the Warthog the entire time, but now at the end, it's like, it's a chase scene, or like things are exploding, you had to get out of there, but it's still gameplay that you've played the entire time. Whereas Devil May Cry 1 is probably the biggest insult to me of this, where you play through this whole game and it has a certain style, and then the final boss is you're flying and becomes a shmup. And I'm like, what? And then there's like an on-rail Star Fox 64 style thing, and I'm like, this is not fun, and it's not the game. Even
like, Arkham Asylum, where the boss battles were so sometimes basic, where you just punch Penguin or whatever, right? But that's how it should be Batman. And then it would be like, well, how do I take down Killer Croc? How do I do this? How do I take down Mr. Freeze? I know I'm mixing things around here, but like how you go out and you actually think about these bosses, right? But then like Arkham Knight, where it's like, all right, cool, do another tank battle, but this time there's 42 enemies, like, fuck you. And it's like, that's the thing where it's like when you play certain games and it's like, all right, cool, I'm going, and like, all right, cool, I'm running up to the boss. So now it's every enemy type you've ever faced in one hallway, and it's like, what the fuck? I don't want to do this. This is stupid.
So I know you platinum all your games.
Not all of them, no.
A lot of them.
I like to platinum games.
I'm not a 100% guy.
Sure.
I've 100% every Arkham game. They are probably my favorite franchise out of the last few generations of games.
Sure.
And Arkham City, all the stuff with the tank, it broke my heart. It was a logical Arkham Knight. That's what
I'm just helping you. I know that I don't want the comments coming after.
No, thank you so much. It was a logical progression of the gameplay to finally have the Batmobile, obviously. But the gameplay with that was hard. But going back on what you're saying about these special endings, Arkham Knight does that in a way that where like the last hour and a half of the game just like throws out everything you've understood about how this game is going to be played, just gives you this massive cinematic, and then thrusts you into, I'm not going to do too many spoilers here, but into this whole different gameplay sequence that leads to the climax that made me forgive every single mistake not only this game had made, but in any other Arkham game. It filled me with it was the best ending to a video game, including ones I've written that I have experienced in probably 10 years.
An example like that for me that I know not everyone agrees with, I think we even disagree on, is Metal Gear Solid 4. Where the final boss fight, where it's you versus Ocelot, and you're punching, and it's like kind of like a Street Fighter style game more than the CQC that you've been doing throughout the whole game. I thought that was earned. I thought that it was different.
Well, that was different because they were like bringing every time you beat him, right? It came back as like the different versions of him from Metal Gear, and like, that was cool. I mean, it was different and weird, but like you can do that and have it work. Like I think of I think the best boss fight in all of the Arkham games, and I know I'm bringing in the black sheep, is Deathstroke in Batman Arkham Origins.
No, I like that.
That was like such a brilliant, fucking awesome fight, and it's like, but it isn't anything else you've done. You have to figure it out, and like it's kind of a quick timey event or whatever. But it's like, holy shit, that was awesome. That's what I want out of this. Whereas then it's like, spoilers, he pops up in Arkham Knight, and I was like, oh fuck, here we go, this is gonna be great. And he's like,
he's in a tank,
and he's like, he just got a tank. I'm like, motherfucker, how'd you fuck this up so bad? All right, let's go.
I thought the same thing.
I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for this epic rematch. Oh no, he's just in a tank, Alfred. Thanks. All right. Other than Final Fantasy, so you got Night in the Woods, Final Fantasy,
and then Pyre.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Talk to me about Pyre.
Pyre, the latest game by Supergiant Games. Which is, the best way I can describe it is Oregon Trail meets basketball, NBA Jam meets an epic fantasy novel. And if you're having a hard time visualizing that, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Everybody who played Pyre loved Pyre.
I fell in love with it. I played, that also took me about 12 to 15 hours, and I played that over the course of 2 nights. Wow. I said, I have no family. I
gotta do it.
Honey, you're on your own.
I will
Greg
love you
Kasabin's
again in
my
2
wife now.
days. He always has been. Greg and I go way back. Greg used to be one of the producers on Spec Ops, and that's how him and I met was back at 2K. So we became friends back then, and he left me to go work Supergiant Games, and it took a couple years, and I forgave him.
Okay. As long as it's all water under the bridge
he's
now.
just so kind and so wonderful and smart, and their games are obviously fantastic. But Pyre, just these days I tend to not like games with a lot of reading.
Yeah.
But the writing and the world building and every character and the art for all the characters was so vibrant and exciting for me. Like and oh my God, the actual gameplay of your fantasy basketball thing. There's a name for it. I think I just don't remember what it is. The ritual.
Blitzball.
Yeah.
Blitzball. We'll call it Blitzball. I like that. It was fast and it was tense to where I was always like emotionally and physically connected to it in a way that I usually am not going to be in a sports games outside of like the original NBA Jam, which is really the only one I've ever really fully gotten into. Because even if you're not good and haven't practiced, you can still be pretty good at it. Whereas like you play all these new sports games and you're playing against someone who actually knows what they're doing, it's over. You're done. It just can't happen. So Pyre, I don't know. Have you played it yet?
No.
Okay.
I had played at events, and Greg came in and did a Let's Play with us, and it was totally one of those things of like, this is cool. It's a lot to wrap my head around in a preview.
Yes.
And so when it dropped, I forgot what I was playing, but it came out at a time when I was in the middle of something else. And so it was one of those, I'll put it on the back burner. And it was that thing where our audience, the best friends, the kids who did play it, wrote in and were like, you guys are sleeping on this game. It's fucking awesome. Andrea played it. She loved it. And like, so it's gotten airtime around here, but no, I've never experienced it. Tim's never experienced it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So just, I mean, conceptually, like you're in this fantasy world where there's a city place. You don't start there. You start in this place called the Underground, or the lower level, where you've been exiled to, and you have this like kind of traveling gypsy type caravan. And these people just find you in the desert, and you can read, and that's why you've been exiled, because everyone's supposed to be illiterate, and they need a reader to read this book where these rituals have come from, and you have to chart the stars and take your little caravan to wherever the stars tell you to go, and there's going to be another team of people waiting there. And then you read this ritual, and this voice comes down from the heaven, this fire bursts open in the middle, and the two teams, 3 people each, compete to get these little soul balls into the other team's fire to get a point. And whoever wins gets to go on in the competition, and if you win enough, you get accepted to the final ritual, and if you win, one of your people gets to go back.
This sounds awesome.
And come out of exile. And there's this whole political subplot of like maybe these people are trying to do it to get back to like start a rebellion to bring down the political leadership in the capital or the city that you came from, so that they can get rid of all of this exile stuff and just bring everyone back. And you're kind of balancing that. Maybe these people are using you. You don't know if they are, because they can't send you back, because then they won't have a reader, and then they can't do it again. So you're like, how am I going to get back? Can I get back? Am I just doing this for them? And then, again, I don't want to spoil things, because I can just tell you the whole thing story.
That's a great pitch of it, because most people just get hung up on the basketball game of it. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. That sounds way more interesting.
And the different races and stuff they've built. Like there's little dog people. One who's got like this nice little mustache guy. Love the mustache guy. But then there's also like a UK punk dog with a mohawk. You've got tree people. You've got little cute porg like flying things.
All right.
You're going to love it.
I got to do it before Game of the Year, I think. I got to get in there. A lot of people are playing it. Tim, what have you been playing?
So this morning, I got to play Super Mario Odyssey, but I can't talk about that.
So you
next week. So I'm teasing that for next week. So you have to wait
Son of
for
a
that.
bitch. Is there any other Nintendo games you've been playing?
There are 2 other Nintendo games that I have been playing. I'm going to start with Metroid: Samus Returns on that there 3DS.
Yeah. Getting great reviews.
You a Metroid guy. You like Metroid?
Yes.
Okay, cool, good. Well, you're in good company here.
Okay.
Metroid, one of my favorite franchises, for sure. Metroid 2, my least favorite good Metroid game. We're not talking about Other M. We're not talking about Federation Force. We're talking about the core,
When
right?
I saw the baby Metroid.
Super Metroid, my favorite one, just for some context here, right? I will say that Metroid Samus Returns is worth playing for sure. I was very upset it was on 3DS and not Switch because I want to play on Switch.
Don't worry, Nintendo's correcting all the problems. You don't have to worry about
Oh
it
yeah,
anymore.
they're not.
They're not putting more
Mario
games out.
Party. Metroid Samus Returns is a great game. I think it's being a little overrated.
Oh, really?
On all the websites. It's
What
getting a Metacritic. I don't know, but I'm gonna throw it out
85s,
there.
it
85, something like that. I'd go maybe a point and a half lower than
Whoa,
that.
you're going flat 7.
Flat 7. Flat
Okay.
7. I am thrilled that I'm playing a 2D Metroid game in 2017. There was a chance that we would never got one again. So just the fact that we have it, I'm like, all right, cool. I gotta be happy with this. There's a lot of good in the game. The counter that they added, the melee counter, super fun, super satisfying to do. Problem with that, it gets old after a while. Similar to the original Metroid 2, there is like about 40 Metroids that are wild, and you have to go around and capture them all.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the game. And it gets really repetitive because there's only like 4 phases they go through. So essentially you have the same boss fight 10 times, 4 times.
Oh, no, I don't like that.
And having used the counter over and over, it really, I feel like the game's at odds against itself because it wants you to be way more nimble than Metroid games typically are. The controls are fantastic. There's a new laser target thing where you can hold the L button and target exactly when you see where it's going to go. And it's great. And the animations are beautiful because it's not sprite based and because it's 3D for the first time with this type of Metroid game. The way Samus moves and like can put her gun behind her back and stuff. It's like you feel like a badass in a way that I haven't ever felt before in Metroid.
Interesting.
I wanted to, and I'm being told that I'm a badass, but now it looks like
You're
I'm a
envisioning
badass.
it. It's like when
Yeah.
you used to play, when you play any 8-bit game or 16-bit game and you kind of make the narrative around it, right? And
Yeah.
envision the battle a bit different than
Yep.
what you're actually seeing.
But seeing the way Samus moves, it's like, it's really cool. And I will say that this is the first game since Mario 3D Land that I had the 3D slider on.
Oh, wow.
The entire time.
Really?
It is gorgeous.
Okay.
Seeing the depths of the caves and there's some fun surprises of things in the background that end up coming in the foreground and stuff. And it's like, it's really cool. And that's all great. But where the game's at odds with itself is the way she's nimble and the way she can now like grab onto ledges and stuff. It's awesome. But then the counter makes everything stop. Like, You have such great momentum and you're moving. Every enemy, you need to wait until they come at you to counter. And it's like, it reaches a point where I feel like the game kept stopping me from moving through how it wanted me to play it, right? So that kind of frustrated me. It is still great Metroid. In classic Nintendo fashion, the last couple of years, there's a baby mode essentially where you can't really lose, and like if you need to find where the breakable walls all you need to do is hit A. It scans the place and it'll tell you where they are.
Gotcha.
You don't need to use it though, and I liked that. I think Nintendo's been good about having the option for people that need the extra help, but not requiring you to use it if you don't want to. But yeah, I just think that overall, it in some ways feels so much better than a lot of the other Metroid games felt to play, but I just feel like the map design was all right. The repetitiveness of the bosses really let me down, and also just the repetitiveness of the enemy designs. But all the upgrades and abilities, like the original ones and the new ones they added, they're super cool. And I just look at this, I'm just like, I can't wait to get the next proper 2D Metroid game.
All right.
I do recommend it. I'm down on it, but it's like it's still a Metroid game. Like it's still great.
Yeah, I mean that still sounds
Mercury
exciting.
Steam knocked it out of the park.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so, like, I would have never expected it from them. But yeah, and the soundtrack is killer. So it's
Knocked it out of the park, 7.0.
yeah. Well, not
I know.
the problem with it though is you're starting with Metroid 2.
Yeah.
And as I feel like they did knock it out of the park for
What it could
have been.
yeah.
Because they did add a lot of stuff that's cool and interesting, but it's
You played this on your way to Hawaii, right?
I did the whole trip in Hawaii.
Did you feel like when you're walking around Hawaii and stuff too?
No, but I mean like the flight there.
Did you get
in the
looks
hotel,
when
but-
you're there on your plane, playing on the train, you're busting out your amiibos, tapping them, putting them on there. You got to have all these amiibos.
I didn't use the amiibos.
What?
No, did not use
But
the
the
amiibos.
Zero Suit.
Oh god, yeah, the fusion mode. No,
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that. But anyway, yeah. Again, it was really cool playing a Metroid game, like a new Metroid game, because it's been a while. And Metroid Zero Mission is one of my favorites, and that was a remake of 1. So it's cool that they remade 2. We don't need to see a Super Metroid remake. Like, I really hope that the next thing we see is
brand new,
like Fusion was. And I know not everyone loves Fusion, but I did. So I'm hoping we get more of that. And I hope that this game sells well so that Nintendo will be like, you know what, we should make more Metroid games, like 2D Metroid games.
Yeah. So I'm absolutely going to buy this now because I did not know it was a remake of Metroid 2, which I never got a chance to play. But here's the thing. All those old Nintendo classics, I love the weird sequel that came after the first one.
Metroid 2.
All of them.
Yeah.
Like Mario 2, Zelda 2, Castlevania 2, how they're just like, why should we make the game that people liked? Let's just go crazy.
Let's go crazy.
So I'm actually really excited to play this now because it sounds so off from the first Metroid, which I loved, that I can only love this more. Now, this also, real fast, also goes to movies. I love Highlander 2 more. I love Jaws 2 more.
Gremlins 2?
Gremlins 2 is perfect. Of course I love that one more. So I don't know why. I just really love the weird sequel. So I am very excited to play this.
I mean, Metroid 2 isn't that weird of a sequel in comparison to things like Mario or Zelda or whatever. I think the biggest problems of Metroid 2, the original, were the sprite was way too big. And then there was just a lot of things like how the map laid out and stuff. But it was all technological stuff because it was on the Game Boy. You know, but yeah, so this game definitely fixes a lot of that, and it's not a 1-for-1 remake. Like they definitely did a good job of making the level design and enemy layout interesting for a modern game, especially when they added all the counter and all that stuff. It's like I felt like the balance was good throughout. It just I did get a little bit bored doing the same type of things and the stop and go action all the time. But yeah, there's that, and then the other thing that, good Lord, I could not recommend higher. Project Octopath Traveler.
Oh, you did the demo.
My God. Yeah, so yesterday, as of recording this, the Nintendo Direct happened, and one of the games they focused on was Project Octopath Traveler, working title, which surprises me that that's still a working title and that
they have a demo out?
There's a demo out with English voice acting. It's a meaty demo. There is a lot there. I'm like, what? Guys, figure this shit out. You know? That seems a little weird, but you not having a Switch yet, this is going to be the game that is going to sell you, man. If you're a Final Fantasy guy, if you're an old school Final Fantasy guy, man, have you seen this game?
No, I've heard I was at a comic book store right before I came here, and they were talking about it and talking about the same thing you just said. Why are they using this placeholder title?
Oh my God, it's horrible.
I saw the title online when people were talking about it the other day, and I was like, what? That seems fine. I mean, it seems like a video game title.
Yeah. So okay.
This definitely seems like a Japanese.
Yeah, this is my Tim Gettys soapbox moment. Okay.
Here we go. Everybody's getting up.
This game needs to be called Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Like, it would help it sell so much, and it's going to be a crime when it gets called something else and sells all right. When if it was just called Final Fantasy, add in a couple Moogles, add in a couple things or whatever, and you'll be fucking fine. Playing this game reminds me of playing Final Fantasy VI for the first time. And that is the highest compliment I can give a JRPG.
Oh, no, absolutely. You've just invoked it. Yes.
Is your Switch here? Is it here?
It's not here. I don't have it here. It made me feel a nostalgia in a way that wasn't just that retro, like, you know, a couple years ago, and it's probably a decade now, when all the retro games were coming out, and it's like, oh, everything looks like a 2D side scroll, and it's all 8-bit.
Yeah.
Some are 16-bit and whatever. Like, you see things like Shovel Knight, and you're like, oh man, like this reminds me of how things used to be. We got so many of those now with JRPGs as well, where you can just like, oh, cool, it's sprite based. There's something about this where it's sprites, but in a 3D like CG world where there's like lighting. And it's like tilt shift photography. And I'm like, this is what those games would have looked like now. And when you're playing through it, there's just so many little details that aren't just, oh, this is a kitschy fun thing that reminds me of before. It's like, no, this is what before would have been like now.
Right.
The music is super updated. It's not like the MIDI sound files or whatever. It's not 8-bit, 16-bit sounds. It's like fully orchestrated, beautiful music. And I cannot compliment the music enough. It's so good. I downloaded the whole rips off YouTube already on my iPod. There's when you see the text bubbles that come up and of the characters going through, there's voiceovers for them. And it's just like, I remember playing Final Fantasy VI and just being like, oh, I wish they would talk to me. And now it does. And it adds so much to it. The characters are super cool. The story's really interesting. A little tropey, the story. Yeah. But I'm down for it. It's I only played one half of the demo because, and I'm not even gonna play the other half. I'm gonna wait till this thing comes out. Like I am so sold on it. So I played Primrose, who's the dancer girl, and it's essentially like Moulin Rouge. And I'm like, all right, cool, you already sold me there.
I think you and I like a lot of the same things.
The battle system is really interesting. I never really played the Bravely Default games, or Bravely Default and Bravely Second, or whatever it was. But from what I hear, it's made by the same people, so it's very similar battle system. But it reminds me of Final Fantasy X. Yeah. Where it's not active time battle, it is turn-based. Where it also kind of reminds me of like Pokemon, where you are wait, it's your turn then their turn. You can see at the top of the screen the order of attacks that people can do, and it is just super fun. The battle system's great, where it's kind of a risk-reward thing, where you have this thing called break, and you have like every turn you get one break point.
Yeah.
Might be saying the wrong thing, but whatever. For the sake of this conversation, we're going to call it break. You get 5 breaks that every turn you get 1 point, and you can use that to amp up and multiply your attack.
Right.
So you can use it every turn. You use 1 to make your attack times 2, or if you wait 3 turns, then you can use your max and you have 3, and it's like the level 3 of either your attack or your spells or whatever. And in addition to that, each enemy has a counter on them where every time you hit them, let's say it says 3, if you hit them 3 times, they go into like a stun mode.
Yeah.
So there's all this math you have to start doing where you look at it and you're like, you try to set people up so that your hits are at the right time where it stuns them, then you can unleash the max 3 thing on them and it really fuck them up. And it's super satisfying.
Really fucked him up.
Like I loved it, and there's one boss fight you get to play in the demo, and it was interesting, and they set up the story very well for me to hate the character that I'm facing off against. And I don't know, it's just like playing it reminded me of playing games that I never thought I would have again.
Right.
And I'm just like, good Lord, I want this now.
And the demo is downloadable now for everyone.
Oh, free for everyone, man. It's I can't believe it.
You just gotta get a Switch.
You gotta get that Switch.
Well, yeah, so it's really funny. This is all sounds so amazing. I'm now totally sold on this game. But prior to you telling me all this, I'd only seen the name on Twitter, and I, for some reason, just assumed it was a sequel to Octodad. That is what I thought when I saw people talking about it.
Yeah.
And this is still a great game,
yeah.
but this is so much better.
Dude, it's so much better.
I'm just glad to see it's paying off.
Is Kevin still here? Yeah. Kevin.
Anyways, I'm just glad to see it paying off because I remember when they did the announcement stream, we all made fun of the title, but we were like, the game looks cool, but then we all lost our mind at the title.
Yeah.
Project Dr. Frostro.
It's so stupid. Like I'm saying, they should just call it a Final Fantasy. And I know that it's not a Final Fantasy.
Well, maybe it couldn't be. Maybe it's like the thing with like the Woods turned out to be like a stealth Blair Witch sequel. Like,
yeah. I mean, that'd be cool if they were like, hey, we're just doing it again, and it's what you're talking about, Final Fantasy. Of like, yep, Final Fantasy can just be something. It can be a one-off shoot.
Can you YouTube Project Octopath Traveler? I want him to see the gameplay. And can you put it on? Yeah, do the thing with the square thing, the picture-in-picture.
Yeah, do that thing with that square thing,
so people can see it too. Because the game is stunning. I've never seen any game with this type of visual style. The closest thing is that game that was announced at E3 this year. I think it's called Last Night.
Yeah,
Last Night. The one with all the controversy and all that stuff. Right. But like the visual style of the game looks amazing. This is like that, but imagine if Final Fantasy VI looks like that. Like it's so cool.
Here we go.
Oh wow. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Good job, Kev. If you're a listener at home or watching, I believe this is the debut trailer, or is this trailer from yesterday?
This is the trailer from yesterday.
Oh, sorry.
This has to be a secret Final Fantasy game. You're absolutely right. It looks exactly like Final Fantasy VI.
That'd be awesome.
This just makes me want to have a Final Fantasy VI remake.
If they fucking announce this is Final Fantasy, people will lose their mind.
The thing is, they won't, though, because it's made by the Bravely Default people. And if anything, I think it would not be part of that series, but like I think it might be something different. But, oh man, for the sake of this game.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just incredible. And then skip forward a little bit to the battle system. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Joey Noel.
It's just classic turn-based things. And just look how cool this looks.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had so much fun.
Oh,
with
you're right.
It.
It's called Break. Good job.
Okay. Well, Break. Yeah, I had the wrong thing.
I'm about to break.
Doesn't matter. Check the game out. If you have a Switch, download this right now and tweet at me and let me know how much it changed your life.
Oh, wow.
It's going to change
It's going to change your life. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called that right now because there's 8 different characters that each have their own little story. Eventually, they're going to converge. But the demo is so meaty. There's 2. You get to play through the first 45 minutes of 2 different characters with completely different stories. And it reaches a point where you beat the boss, and then the credits roll, and then you can just keep playing.
I just noticed
don't
working
get it.
title in parentheses. At
Oh
the
yeah,
bottom. That's
no,
so
they're committing to it.
This is why I just call it that.
I hope they don't call it that.
I mean, at this point though, that's what we all know it as, right?
Well, so last time Nintendo did something like this that I remember, it was that Project Steam or codename Steam,
Oh.
and then it ended up just being called Project Steam or something like that. And it's like, well, great. So I don't know. I hope they figure this shit out. Now it's time for This Week in Gaming History. 2 years ago, on September 11th, 2015, Super Mario Maker came out on the Wii U. Ooh, what a fantastic
When
game.
is that? And this is another one of the where's this on Switch? Just put it on a Switch.
I feel like that's a E3 next year announcement. Okay. I would bet on it. I play Mario Maker a lot on my 3DS.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't worry too much about all the uploading, whatever. I just
Sure.
play it. And it's good. It's damn good. But I want it on the Switch.
We want everything on the Switch now.
8 years ago, on September 12th, 2009, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out on the DS in Japan. My favorite Pokemon games.
Really?
Those remakes, fantastic.
Is it because Pikachu was in it?
Pikachu was featured in it. Yeah. He was. Pikachu was also featured in Pokemon Yellow version, Special Pikachu Edition, that came out 19 years ago on September 12th, 1998. Man, that game was special, Greg. Let me tell you why.
Lay it on me. Why was it
Pokemon Red
special?
and Blue, fantastic games. Everyone gets hooked. It's a phenomenon. I don't know if you're familiar. Pokemon, you catch them.
Have you heard of Pokemon? Yes, catch them all.
Of them.
That's
That
what I
was
hear.
one.
All
Or
of
they
them, every
kill your
single one?
mom in the game.
Wow, that's intense. I
But
did
then
not
there was
know
an
that.
anime that people watched, and everyone watched that too. And everyone's like, well, man,
Death Note.
I wish that the anime or the game was more like the anime. So they did it. They took all the anime characters, put them in the game. Pikachu walked around with you. It was a great time. Pokemon Yellow. You should play it, Greg. You can get it on the 3DS Virtual
I'll
Console.
wait for the Switch version.
All right.
It's coming.
10 years
me it's
ago,
coming.
on September 14th, 2007, Skate
Oh, fuck yes.
on the Xbox
Skate.
360, changing the game, killing Tony Hawk forever.
So, but Skate was so good.
Skate was good.
Did you play Skate?
I
Did you
held
enjoy
resentment
Skate?
against Skate. I did not play enough Skate.
Okay.
I held too much of a
Skate
grudge.
was one of those games that like overtook IGN at the time, where we all were so into Skate. Hillary was so into Skate, and we would all go home and play Skate, and then come back and look at funny clips. And that was the thing; it was a game ahead of its time of uploading clips to look at things and share, and like, okay, like seeing the guys
Skate
like,
culture.
tumble off and then land on the park bench, like be fucking laying with somebody. It was great. Skate? You didn't play Skate? huh?
Never played Skate.
Why do you
no.
hate Skate?
I don't know.
Did you ever play Tony Hawk's Underground?
No.
The best Tony Hawk?
Never play. I don't think I've ever played a Tony Hawk game.
Tony Hawk Underground's great.
Turns out that the writer guy who liked RPGs was not drawn to the skateboarding game.
Huh.
Yeah.
Bam Margera was in them though. Viva la Bam.
That's true.
Euron Greyjoy himself. That is fantastic.
No, that's not.
He does look like him. 9 years ago, on September 16, 2008, Star Wars The Force Unleashed came out on PS3, PSP, Wii, and Xbox 360.
PSP.
What a game.
Yeah.
Man, that was fun.
That was fun.
So much fun.
Yeah. Sam Witwer.
And now you're working on a Star Wars game.
That's right, I am.
Wow.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a sequel to The Force Unleashed 2, correct?
No.
Your game?
No, it is not. The Force Unleashed is what we would now call a legend. It is not an authentic Star Wars story.
Sure. Your game
It
is,
a
though.
legend. My game is.
Yeah.
It is what you would call canon,
Canon.
which is not a word that they like to throw around too much. They prefer to just call it authentic Star Wars story
Okay.
and legends. But yes, our Star Wars
authentic
Battlefront
Star
2,
Wars story.
the single-player campaign, is going to be the second video game, Star Wars video game, to ever be considered canon. The first one being the mobile game, Star Wars Uprising, which is no longer out. But we don't need to talk about that
No,
technically.
because you got a
We're
game
really-
coming up. It's coming up. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We can talk about that later.
November
You wanna
18th?
talk-
Yes.
I want to quickly get through these.
Yeah, we'll get through these.
Because let me just do this because it's bated breath, and you just tell me. Don't do the thing. You gotta wait and see. Any reference to Watto in this game? Any reference to Watto?
What's next on your list?
I'm excited about this.
All this water drinking with these Star Wars people. 15 years ago, on September 15th, 2002, Animal Crossing came out on the GameCube. First Animal Crossing game ever released.
Really?
Yeah, it technically came out on the N64 in Japan,
Okay.
but in America.
Do you have good memories of this game?
I do not. Not an
You
Animal
are
Crossing guy.
Stupid.
No.
Animal Crossing was awesome. It still is awesome. But my GameCube memories was we lived in this college house. Kyle bought this game. We're all like, what the fuck is this? But then we all made our own characters and lived in that same world. And it was like, asynchronous multiplayer where I'd wake up and go to class and then I'd come back and nobody's home. So I'd play some Animal Crossing. And Brian had posted like things making fun of my mom on the wall.
Yeah.
And like Kyle had planted trees in my yard. And I was like, fuck, trying to clean everything up. It was awesome to like. It was the first time I think I ever had a shared world in a game with other people, like that I was living with. I guess it just shared world in general, where I wasn't like we're playing a multiplayer mode. It was this: we're all existing. Tom Nook owns us all. We're just trying to get out of debt with this motherfucker. Yeah,
That sounds really cool, actually. I never played the original one.
Did you play any of them afterwards?
No, I've never played any of those.
No, that's fine. Just make sure. No, I wasn't doing it because the 3DS one was interesting in the same way, right? Because that was another game that came out and swept IGN, where it was like we'd come in the morning and open them up and see what other people had done, and like I think it was Brian Altano that built in his basement, like had recreated the Up at Noon set and all this shit. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. Like I can't wait for Animal Crossing Switch to have everybody again doing that thing playing.
Yeah. That'll be another one. E3, probably. 15 years ago on September 16, 2002, Kingdom Hearts came out on PS2. Now, Kingdom Hearts.
I have played this one.
Oh, yeah?
Finally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Final Fantasy
it's
in
Final
there.
Fantasy and Disney throw together, which,
Best
I mean,
thing ever.
it's so good and weird and
The
makes no
weirdest.
sense in a way that I really like.
Yeah.
And you got a key that's a sword.
How into the Kingdom Hearts are you?
Oh, I stopped right. I stopped
After
like
2?
30 minutes into 2.
30 minutes into 2. You're telling me you didn't get through that boring as hell 5-hour
I
tutorial
did
section
get
where they just
through
eat
it.
ice cream and shit?
I was so confused
God,
by
Kingdom
it.
Hearts 2 so good after that point.
I know. That's what my friend who lent it to me, she let me the first Kingdom Hearts. She's like, it's great. Now you're gonna play Kingdom Hearts 2, but you got to keep going. And I got 30 minutes. It's like I can't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just have.
No.
I got to do other things. But I am reading Alexa's book about it.
Yeah.
So I'm finally catching up on Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We had her come on the show and try to explain the whole story, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, it's still, even with a book in front of me and the internet right there next to me, I'm still trying to. There's a lot.
You need to find a Sherpa for that game to
Yes,
guide you
I
through it,
do.
to explain
That's
everything
true.
to you. Yeah.
One of my best friends, James Burke, biggest Kingdom Hearts fan.
No
that I
way.
know. Oh, dude.
Really? Burke?
Disney.
Still.
It's Disney.
Still.
Besides Alexa, obviously. But the thing with him that is just the most, this is the most James Burke thing ever. I hate him for it. He has platinumed Kingdom Hearts multiple times. Like on PS2, he 100%ed it. On the HD remix on PS3, he 100%ed it. And then on PS4, he 100%ed
Give me
it.
some stats on his dream drop distance playtime.
Beat
Okay,
it multiple
okay,
times. He's beaten Chain of Memories. He's beaten Recoded. He's beaten all of them. All of them. Except for 2. Except for the one that everyone says is the best one. He's stuck in the tutorial. He's played it like 5 times. He's like, oh, I just never get through it. I just want to go back to 100 Acre Woods and 1. I'm like, dude, play fucking 2. Everyone, find a way to give him shit for that. I hate him.
Does he have a Twitter?
No, he doesn't.
What's his phone number? What's James Burke's phone number?
2 more here. 2 more. These are important ones. 24 years ago on September 13th, 1993, Mortal Kombat 1
Mortal Kombat
came out. SNES and Genesis.
You remember this, Tim?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I remember it. Kevin had all the CG like VHS tapes.
Okay.
Like, not just the movies. There was like a weird CG like trailer commercial thing.
Okay.
For it. And
I
we
don't
watched
remember that.
We watched it a lot because Mortal Kombat was so cool.
Yeah, it was super cool.
It was
Do
cool
these
with the
fatalities,
K.
do all these different things. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Second best video game movie ever made.
What's the first? Doom?
Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, okay.
God.
And I
bless.
will die
and
on that
speaking of
hill.
Super Mario
You will.
Brothers,
You
Die on
definitely
that
will die on it.
I love Super Mario Brothers the movie. I mean,
Okay,
it's
good.
just fucking. It's horrible, but like, good lord, how much fun is that damn movie?
It's so good.
Have you seen Dead or Alive, the movie?
No.
I want to give a shout out to it because, I mean, again, horrible. But it was really like, we're going to commit to it being a video game. They had an excuse for why there's health bars when they fight and you can see the health bars. And I was like, I appreciate that.
When's the beach volleyball show up in this?
Oh, it's in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, they went through. They did it.
I want to make one defense of the Super Mario Brothers movie real fast because I know a lot of people do hate it, but this is the thing that makes me consider it an actual work of genius.
John
So in the Koopa Kingdom, dinosaurs evolved instead of monkeys. So everyone over there is a dinosaur. And when you go to the Koopa Kingdom, they're all driving electric cars. You know why?
No, why?
Because the dinosaurs evolved, there's no fossil
There's
fuel.
no fossil
and
fuel.
that is genius. That is a level of detail you do not expect from a Super Mario Brothers movie. And when I realized that halfway through my first viewing,
The clouds
everything
parted.
opened up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
okay,
fell in
okay.
love.
Man.
Just think about it.
It's hard not to now.
Yeah, speaking of Super Mario Brothers, 32 years ago on September 13th, 1985, Super Mario Brothers came out on the NES. Changing gaming forever.
I was hoping you were going to say number 2. Super Mario 2. That's the
yeah.
one.
I
One is
love
great.
Mario
One
2.
is great. We finally got an NES Classic in my house, and we went back and we've been playing the first one,
Yep.
and it's great. And you
It
know
is
what's
great.
great when you go back and play an old game for the first time in years? When you run up to that first Goomba and you mistime the jump and you die, and you
Wow.
realize your entire life is a lie.
Yep,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
I'm going to throw this out there. Super Mario Brothers 1, most overrated Mario game of all time. IGN just did a ranking the top 10 Nintendo games of all time.
Sure.
And Super Mario Brothers 1 is the 2D game that made the list. I'm like, I'm sorry. I understand it's the first. I understand how influential it is. I understand how important it is. But that's like the people that say that Fast and Furious 1 is better than 5. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But no, Super Mario World, way better. Super Mario 3, way better. Honestly.
So wait, they
Super
only
Mario
put
2.
one on there? I thought you said it was 8-bit. That's the 8-bit, or did you say 2D? My apologies. Now I'm caught up. Thank you very much. I removed my question.
And then Mario 64, the only 3D one on the list. And it's like, guys, no, Galaxy and Galaxy 2. I get that 10 is hard. But Mario 1 is the most overrated. I love Mario 1. But I mean, come on, guys. It's not even near the same league as 3 or World.
I feel like I'm willing to agree with you on here. It's overrated. Usually has a bad connotation. I don't think you're using it that way here.
No.
You're just saying
he's not
that,
doing it to insult
that in
it.
compared to these other two. It's just
Mario
No, I
1's
get
a
that.
10
Okay.
out of 10.
Yeah.
It's just not as much of a 10 out of 10 as the others.
You did it. You summed it up well with Metroid, where it's your least favorite good one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great way of putting it. Because when you talk about, it's my least favorite, that makes it sound like you don't like it, but you just don't think it's. Yeah, I would definitely think World above it.
Oh, yeah.
World's the best. World's the best Mario game.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Stuff
have to
Mario
discuss
Sunshine up your asshole.
Mario Sunshine. I love Mario Sunshine.
I know you do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Stuff it up your asshole. I don't want to hear it.
I'm going to
Tell
go
him.
pee.
Tell
you
him,
guys
Walt.
can chatter for a second. Do you
Tell
guys
him
need
Walt.
water? You need anything?
Tell him. No, I ordered a
I'll
coffee.
take some water.
I
Thank
ordered
you
a
so
coffee from
much.
Joey Noel.
I've never played Super Mario Sunshine.
Good. You
I'm
don't
so
need
sorry.
to. Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Do I just need to know that it's
Dan Reichert,
okay?
Tim Gettys, I think Colin, right? Wasn't Colin? There's a bunch of people who are just blind and crazy, and
Yeah.
they think Super Mario Sunshine or Mario Sunshine's a good game. It's not a good game.
Oh, it's not a good game. Oh, okay.
Don't worry.
It's that was the one on the game.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's
It's
the thing.
repetitive.
I never played a GameCube.
You gotta-
I don't think I ever.
Fuck.
It came out in a window for me
Where you
of
weren't gaming?
consoles. Well, it's not that I wasn't gaming. I think it's that I was buying my own consoles finally.
Okay.
And
So you had to pick.
Yeah, exactly. It was like post parents, pre-disposable income.
Okay.
So
That
it was
makes more
kind of in
sense.
that window. Yeah.
Yeah, I always take it for granted the fact that I moved into a house where I had the PS2, Kyle had the GameCube, and eventually Parker came with an original Xbox.
Yeah.
And then when Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes came, that's when I finally bought a used GameCube so I could just sit in my room and play that nonstop.
Yeah.
And then when I fell in love with KOTOR, I think is when I bought my own Xbox too, where I was like, I got
That's what I did too. Same.
Yeah.
KOTOR totally won me over. My
Dude,
friend
what a
left
game.
his at my house one
Yeah.
weekend, and I was playing his KOTOR. He left, and there was like I went out and I sold all my CDs. This is still when you could sell CDs for like store credit and stuff.
Yeah.
Sold all my CDs, all these old games that I had and movies and DVDs, and got an Xbox so I could play KOTOR.
Yep.
And it was so fabulous.
Exactly. Yeah, I had that giant Xbox. I carried it around for KOTOR, KOTOR 2, and Stubbs the Zombie.
Yes.
'Cause who didn't love Stubbs the Zombie? You know what I'm talking about?
That game was fantastic.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
But you never played a GameCube
Never played
game.
or a Dreamcast game. Both of those like systems that people like rave about are like fall into that category that I just never.
Dreamcast
Yeah.
is always just was ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's what people say.
As
assume,
a Sega fanboy growing up, I got so burned on the Saturn that I was like, I fucking curse you guys. And when Dreamcast came out, it wasn't until I played Crazy Taxi at a Target
Yeah.
demo kiosk where I was like, maybe I should pick this up. And my friend was like, don't. PlayStation 2's out in like 9 months or whatever
Yeah.
it was. I was like, great point. Fuck these people into the ground. And they
So you got
lost.
burned by the Sega Saturn, but what's your feeling on the Sega CD? Let's go into this. What?
Sega CD, I didn't own.
Okay.
My friend Connor had it, and we went over there and played a few things, and I just never saw it. What was the Castlevania on it? He had that, whatever.
Oh, there was.
then.
I don't know. I remember two games: only Sonic CD and Third World War.
Was Night Trap one of them? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
Night Trap was, and that also on the Philips CD.
Probably that sounds about right. Yeah. But no, I looked at it. I was like, that's fine. But I mean, like, it was like I remember Sega. I remember it was a selling point when I wanted to get the Genesis.
Yeah.
To my parents that we could buy this adapter that would let me play
Thank you so
my
much.
entire collection of Master System games.
Yeah.
Like what a great idea that was. Just plug it all in. I got both libraries right
Yeah, I
there.
love
Ahead
that.
of their time on that. Ahead of their time on that. Backwards compatibility they made me pay for, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're ahead of their time on that as well.
That's
making
true.
me pay for backwards compatibility.
Yeah. Oh man. I miss
So now it's
those.
time to talk about you, Walt.
And Significant
favorite
Zero.
topic.
Tell us about Significant Zero.
Well, Significant Zero, it's kind of a career memoir. It's about my time in the video game industry, which at this point is now going on 12 years.
How did it start for you?
It started for me, so it actually goes beyond just getting in the industry. I originally went to college. to be a Southern Baptist chaplain in the United
What
States Air Force.
fuck?
You may not know this about me.
I don't think I knew this about you.
I was a religious military boy and signed away my life to go to college, Baylor University, the largest Southern Baptist university in the
You
world.
really
in
are
Waco,
from the South.
in Waco, Texas, where nothing else has ever happened. And I got about 2 weeks into college and decided that maybe religion wasn't for me. There's a thing that happens when you go off to college and suddenly have no parental restrictions and access to alcohol, and everyone's discovering themselves, and suddenly the things that religion tells you not to do, you really want to do. And so
Yeah.
Jesus and I were like, we're split. We broke
Yeah.
up, and that was the thing. But the military were like, you've already signed a contract. We own your body. So I had to go into the military, and that's just what was going to happen. So I left the religious track, and I started focusing on writing and film and the things I was really interested in, because I figured when I go into the Air Force, no matter what I major in, they will just be like, you're a chef now. We need people to cook food. Go. There you
Peel
go.
these potatoes.
Right. So while in college, I became part of a secret organization. And yes, I'm mentioning that because I don't think you should join one if you can't brag about it.
Stonecutters.
Yes. And so I was writing, they published a satirical newspaper, and I was editor of it, and I was writing all stuff like that. Really got into writing. Right before I graduated, I got kicked out of the Air Force.
What for?
Not being officer material, in all honesty. Just really not being someone that you would want to send.
You're like
into
Bill
a
Murray
war
from
zone.
Stripes. They're like,
That
get
was
this guy out.
Very similar to that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So it was an honorable discharge. I
Nice.
was not just booted out, but I was like, well, I don't have a job now. I will pursue my passion. So I called on my parents like, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be a writer. So I packed up my bags, moved to Austin, and immediately worked at a job at a mall for 6 months so I can get money, and then moved up to New York, where I was
wow.
like, I'm gonna be a writer. And nothing happened for 2.5 months. I applied to Marvel, I applied to DC. I put on a suit and just walked my ass into Marvel's office
Hell
with
yeah,
a
you
resume.
did.
with
I'm here to see Stan Lee.
Yes, they keep him in a glass
Oh,
box.
sure. Yeah,
they
yeah.
only bring him out for showings now. I did not know
Excelsior.
that. Well, it's the air. They don't want him to wrinkle. They don't want
course.
they want it to yellow.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And the guy just
bagged
stopped
and
me at the
boarded.
door and was like,
Not
no,
today.
No, then they still haven't called me back, but I'm waiting. I'm hoping. Maybe my resume's gotten big enough. I can finally get the mailroom job that I've been waiting for.
I think you got the in now, Disney.
Exactly.
be
This
good.
is true. This is true. But so I met a guy at a bar in New York, in the middle of New York, a Lone Star bar, a Texas bar, because
Nice.
that's where Texans go. And I'm not a Texan, Louisiana. Anyway, he lived with guys who worked on the paper that I worked on in college 10 years before I ever went there. And so that earned me enough for him to talk to me.
Okay.
And he was like, what do you do? I was like, I don't do shit. Right now.
Right now, not a damn thing.
Nothing. And he's like, well, I'm the hiring manager of this place called Take Two. We own Rockstar. They make GTA. I'm not going to hire you for them. But we have this other company, 2K. They're brand new. You haven't heard of them. Send us your resume. Maybe there'll be something for you. 2 weeks later, I come in for an interview for a game analyst position, which is kind of like a creative feedback. It's not QA. It's more like finding creative issues. Like maybe we could do this more or do this less.
So idea QA.
Yeah, it's an idea QA.
Do you play the game?
Yeah, you play the game a lot.
So it's like basically modern Tom Hanks and Big.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good comparison. It's pretty much that. And
I don't
so,
get it.
And so I get in, and I'm like, I will do this job until my writing career takes off. And then they're like, no, we already have you, and you can review scripts, and we pay you much less than we would have to pay anyone that we brought in to do that. So now you get to do that. And I was like, yes, please, let me do that. I will absolutely do that. And so they sent me to Chicago to live in a hotel on the side of the highway. And every day go over to High Voltage Software to talk to them about Family Guy : the game ! And help them write this thing.
Which was a great game.
Really?
I remember this PS2 would have been around 2005, 6, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I loved Family Guy.
Yeah.
So this game came out and I played it, and my girlfriend at the time was obsessed with it and played it more than I did.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
so sweet to hear
Yeah, yeah,
because everyone hated it when it came out.
It was one of those things where it wasn't a great game, but it was
Yeah.
like fun, and it was Family Guy, and there were jokes in it, and it was like,
Yeah.
there were like callbacks to the shows and shit. It was like, this is fun. This is cool to kill time with.
I got one joke in the game.
Hey.
I wrote an entire version of the script. We flew out to Los Angeles to meet with the Family Guy writers, and they were like, this is the least Family Guy thing we've ever read. And I think they saw the heartbreak on my face, and they're like, I mean, it's not terrible. But
What's
we
the
have
joke? What was the joke?
Okay, so the joke is when Brian is getting arrested by the police, when Carter Pewterschmidt shows up to his house because he thinks he impregnated Seabreeze again, he reaches into his pocket. Brian's like, I didn't do it. Carter reaches into his pocket, pulls out a wad of cash, hands it to the cop, says he's lying. Reaches in, grabs another, hands it to him, and he's not Caucasian. Cop runs in, starts beating him with a billy club. Had no idea that was going to be in the game. I played the final game. It's in there, and I'm like, yes. I wrote one joke that was good enough to be stolen by the Family Guy writers.
That's it. You made it.
I am
Put it on the resume.
my way. If I can just keep working, and like in all honesty, like that gave me so much inspiration to just keep trying harder and harder and harder. I was like, clearly I'm on the right path. If I can get one joke, that's one more joke more than most people get. So I can just keep working harder, and eventually I'll get 2, then I'll get a page, then I'll get a mission, and then someday they'll give me an entire game. And that game was Spec Ops. 10 people played that game, but those 10 people really liked that game.
More than that played it. We never shut up about that on podcast.
I know, and we appreciated that. Yes, they did, a lot of people.
I mean, Spec Ops is one of those games when people talk about stories in games, it's Spec Ops. Like, that's what they bring up. So you did that. You wrote that.
No, of course. And like, we're all super proud of it. And I am, and I'm at the point where I can be super proud of it. Because at first, I hated it. Any game I've worked on, I've usually hated by the time it comes out. Because the thing is, you put so much of your time and your life into it, and you have all the bad memories of production, the sleepless nights, the fights with your significant others. All of that gets projected on the work, so you can still be like, I feel I did good work, but when I look at it, I just see the pain. Sure. And so with Spec Ops being a game that's really about the pain, it kind of just increased that. Yeah, it got really, it would get harsh. But now I can look back at it and go, yeah, no, like we did do something really cool there. And people ask, how did that game ever get made? And I still don't know. I'm amazed that we ever got it through to that level.
That was the thing. So like, this wasn't something they tossed to you. This is your idea. You tossed to them, and they're like, "We'll finally give you a bone."
It was a mixture of both.
Okay.
We knew. So Take-Two somehow ended up with the Spec Ops license. I don't exactly know how, but Rockstar was like, "We're going to make a Spec Ops game." They spent, I think, maybe half a year and a half on it, and we're like, "Nah, we got nothing." And so the license fell down to us. And it came to, my boss handed it to me and the other game analyst, a guy named Jim Yang, super cool guy. They were like, come up with some ideas for what Spec Ops game story could be. And of course, I just jumped straight in. I was like, let's get messy. Let's get
weird.
Yeah. Well, I was coming off of BioShock, and BioShock had done an amazing job of taking Ayn Rand's philosophy and kind of building a thematic world around that. Yeah, and I was like, let's rip off something that's really cool too, like something.
What did you do on BioShock for the credits?
Okay, so
people are following
BioShock,
along?
I was lead game analyst, which means if you saw a screenshot or a video, I probably took it.
Gotcha.
And I did a lot of feedback on site, and I did almost all the demos with Ken Levine. I traveled around with him the country. We was doing previews and demos, and I would play while he would talk and be really, really smart. And I was just the quiet little kid in the corner.
You're doing those slow cinematic pans showing Rapture.
We even did the a live E3 show where the demo broke like 10 minutes in, and the enemies stopped showing, and we had a whole hour to fill because it's live, and I just had to leave the demo area that they had built and pray to God the rest of the game had enemies in it, and they did, thank goodness. And the whole time I'm just looking at Ken off camera like, oh God, Ken, keep talking. But there's a level of intelligence and that the Ken and the entire team at Rational have, that just like being around them and watching them do their thing, I absorbed so much just from finally taking my dad's advice of sitting down, shutting up, and listening to people, that going into Spec Ops after that, we really tried to take a lot of lessons we learned from BioShock and make a game that would be as equally thought-provoking. And so we started off thinking, you're looking at Call of Duty and the other military shooters, none of which I can remember right now, like Battlefield, and none of them had really bothered to steal from the type of war stories that I'd always been fond of, which is like Apocalypse Now or The Thin Red Line, things like. They always tended to focus more
something
on
with weight.
Yeah, like something that really weighed down on you. And so I was like, let's do that. And at that point, Jaeger Development, the wonderful team in Berlin that had developed the game, they pitched us an idea that was set in Dubai with terrorists. And was kind of more straightforward, but we like them. We like this Dubai idea. Let's get them and Walt working together on an idea. And then I think just one day their art director, out of boredom in a meeting, drew a skyline in Dubai covered in sand, and we were like, "That looks cool. What's that about?" It's like, I don't know, but it looks cool. Yes, and yeah, okay, that's the thing. Dubai's covered in sand now. We will solve that later. And that's game writing in a nutshell. Is someone did a thing they thought was cool. They don't know how it fits with anything else, and they're like, writer, come here. Why does that happen? Well, you did. No. Why does it happen? And so you just have to like, here's some words and duct tape and boom, it looks like we did it on purpose. We never did. But if you do it right, it looks like you did. And that's the great thing about Spec Ops is that like we, over the course of 5 years, this game was supposed to take 2, it ended up taking 5 years. There's so many versions of the story, so many twists and turns to it. We didn't, the final story didn't even come about until like the last year of production.
Wow.
The framework of the story was there, but then like one day we were like, what if Conrad's just dead and you're crazy? Wow, okay, that makes it suddenly very, very different. And then the whole twist of like them, if you haven't played the game, it's been out for 5 years, so sorry, spoiler.
We told you a million times to play it.
The twist that you might be dead the entire time and died in the helicopter crash at the beginning, that came about because we were doing the final recording of the game, and my boss, who knew I didn't want to start the game with a flash forward, used that week to announce that we would start the game with a flash forward because he thought I couldn't fight him on it. And when I got the news, I just flipped over a script page, wrote down 5 lines that were Walker saying, wait, what's going on? We've done this before, that would only play during the second time you get to the helicopter scene. And I just fed it to my actors. We recorded it all right there. And I emailed the guy who told me the news, like, hey, I'm just letting you know right now, there is no flash forward. The helicopter scene at the beginning happens in real time. You die at the end of it. The rest of the game is a post-death hallucination. I'm sending this to you because in a month and a half, everyone's going to say I made this shit up and I want proof right here and now. Send. And a month and a half, sure enough, I had to bring that up in a meeting. Jaeger's like, nah, bitches. That's on purpose. You did. and it was all just because my boss pissed me off during a recording session. That's, these are the kind of things, the kind of stories that you'll find in Significant Zero.
Yeah.
Out September 11th. Pre-order now.
Wait, September 11th already happened.
September 19th.
September 19th. You kept saying 11.
Yeah.
September 19th.
I don't know.
You're
It's a
right.
weird date. People think
Why would
about it.
people
Remember it all the
remember?
time. Oh, it's because
Never
Cooking with
forget.
Greggy debuted on patreon.com/kindafunny. That's why.
Very important.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
You're blowing my mind right now. First off, I love your energy. You are such a fucking cool dude. Second off, so writing a game, what does that mean? Because you're writing the narrative, the plot, like what happens.
Yeah.
Are you also writing line for line who says what, like the script of it?
Yeah, so it's you've got 2 types of game writing. You have the critical path, the story script, and that's what, if you're just going straight through the game, your cutscenes, your main dialogue that's happening that's saying, oh no, that is the boss, we must fight him now, open fire, those things, like that's your critical path. And you're gonna write that like a screenplay, just a normal screenplay. Pointing out this cutscene, this gameplay, blah, blah, blah. But then you got your secondary lines, your combat lines, that's battle chatter, intel that you might pick up, backstory stuff, your menu text. That's all these secondary lines. That's just a spreadsheet where some designer has come in and put a lot of cells saying, you're throwing a grenade, you're throwing a flash grenade, you're throwing a sticky grenade. That guy has a shotgun. That guy has a sniper rifle. And you have to write 5 to 10 lines for each of these things. And then do that for 10 or however many characters. And you're trying to instill as much character and voice and personality in these things as you possibly can, which is hard because these lines are terrible and boring and no one really hears them anyway, unless they are really lively and different. Because they're meant to be informational, but ultimately they all get thrown together in a game to just create this kind of soundscape of stuff happening around you in combat. Because the thing is, when you're in combat, you know what you don't do? You don't tell the enemy that you're throwing a grenade at them. That's a bad idea. You don't shout that out, you just throw it. But those are these secondary lines, and those are the worst. But everyone has to do them. I don't dislike doing them because I try to have fun with them. I'll do like 4 that are very straight laced for the game, and then I'll do one that's just for me. And the one that's for me can be anything. Like, I remember I was writing lines for Mafia 2, and you're going through the store, and you're looking at all the weapons, and every time your cursor goes over a weapon, the guy has to be like, oh, so you're looking for a Tommy gun, huh? Like, hey, Al Capone used to use that. Oh yeah, no, that Tommy gun, that's a good model. And I was just like, well, yeah, it's, look, it shoots bullets really fucking fast. What else do you need to know? Like, that one's for me. Like, if it's just what I'm thinking in my head after writing 4 really boring lines, anything to make me not want to stab a pencil into my eye. Because that's how I start to feel. That's
what I got. In my sleep, I must have done it. I was writing bad lines.
Never leave pencils by your bed, man. Like, I do it all the time. Anyway.
So what about like the text in the game, like all the menus and all that stuff? You write that as well.
I write. Sometimes
This
I write
sounds like
that,
a lot.
Sometimes I don't. It depends.
People write movies, people write books, and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. There's a lot of words in those things, right? I
Yes.
understand that. Games seem like a whole other level where it's like a movie is 2 hours.
It's like being a screenwriter and being a book writer, an author, and also being the guy who has to like write the weird little not funny quotes in like a Denny's menu. Like that's all those 3 jobs come together. That's a video game writer. And sometimes you have power and control over what you're doing. Sometimes you have 0, and there are people just throwing things at you, saying say this exact thing but better.
So is there a team or is it just you?
It depends. Every game is different. I've worked on some games where I am the only writer. And to be fair, I like that because I don't have to fight other people's ideas. I can be a little bit of a steamroller when it comes to other people's ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I know. It's hard to believe, but I will destroy you.
Oh, wow.
No one
Okay.
fucking edits me.
My apologies.
But sometimes you have a team where you'll have a lead writer or a narrative director or even the creative director. Like Ken Levine is the he's the lead writer on all of his games because Ken Levine was a writer first before he got into games. Hayden Blackman, also a writer. You know, like a lot of creative directors are also writers. Amy Hennig, probably one of the most successful, popular, known ones as well.
Yeah.
So when you're working on that, you'll have a whole writer team, and you'll split things up sometimes by character, sometimes by mission, and then the lead writer will go back in and take everyone's stuff and tweak it so that it fits together with a similar voice. And I've done a couple of those, like on Star Wars Battlefront 2. I am working with a co-writer. It's just the two of us, but it's me and Mitch Dyer, who you may know.
He always said he was lead writer and you were junior assistant.
Well, you see, that's because Mitch Dyer is a filthy liar.
Okay, just making sure I understood.
And
Just
that
making sure I
rhymes.
understood. Oh, it does. Yeah, good call. Good call. Cool.
That's delicious.
So Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, what was that like?
I got a lot of questions here. I
Yeah,
mean, the
let's hear
first
them.
one is you're writing a canon Star Wars story.
Yes.
Like you are creating the official story of what happened in between episode 6
I can't see
and
that from
episode
here. Is
7.
that-
Oh,
is
this
it
is, again,
Watto?
this is Watto.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, it'd be. I know it's not too late to put him
Hold
in
on.
there.
We're going to talk about Watto in a second. Don't
okay,
you
good.
worry about it.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh, Lord. But I mean, obviously, so much pressure. Obviously, that's insane. But like, forget about all that. How cool is that?
It's so cool, I almost turned it down. I'm not lying.
I can imagine. That seems like
Wait,
a
how
lot
does
of pressure.
So, do they approach you and they're like, "Hey, we want to write Star Wars"? Did you audition or like?
No, they approached me. I got a call and said, "Would you be interested in writing Star Wars?" And of course, the answer is yes. Clearly, yes. But they wanted me to start 2 weeks before my child was born. And if you have a child, you know that 2 weeks before your child is born could be the week your child is born. And I would have to be on the other side of the country, other side of the continent, in a different country, doing this. And I was like, I don't know if I can make that happen. And they understood. Like they were like, that is for all the reasons to say no to Star Wars. That one is very valid. But just give it a thought, and we'll see if maybe we can change some dates around on our end. Just give it, think about it. And that afternoon, we went and got an ultrasound. We were sitting in the waiting room, and I was just scrolling through Twitter, and that was the day that John Boyega tweeted at EA, "Hey, where's my Battlefront single-player campaign?"
Nice.
And I read that, and I was just like, oh, shit. And I showed it to my wife. She's like, you got to write Star Wars. You can't say no, because Finn wants you to do this. You're doing this for him, not us, not the Williamses. You're doing it for Finn. And I was like, yeah, I am. And now John Boyega and I are best friends. Who would have thought?
I love that.
I know, we barbecue all the time.
Please tell me the game opens and it's like, or the campaign opens for John Boyega.
So yeah, I mean, it is so cool that the reason I felt comfortable turning it down is because I thought, you know what? Almost writing Star Wars is still better than most people ever get. And that's something I can hold on to for the
And it's
rest
way
of my
better than
life.
fucking up Star Wars.
It
So
is
fuck it
way
up, man.
better than fucking up Star Wars. I don't think we did.
Good.
I think we've done, let's see, how can I say anything that is, I just think we did it right.
Good.
We did it good.
I trust you, man.
I mean, it's you and Mitch writing Star Wars. I was on board. Then this Janina gets involved.
Janina is amazing.
Yeah, well,
Janina's
she can't even stay
fantastic.
for a full Game Over Greggy show. So I just wanna put that out
She's a
there.
very busy person, though.
We had started a campaign already to boycott Star Wars Battlefront 2 because she was only here. And what we said is you can only stay for half a game over Greg you showed Janina. We'll only buy this game when it's half price.
I'm gonna buy it for full price.
Me too.
It
But
is
I'm just
my- besides Mario Odyssey, it is my most anticipated game for the rest of the year. Because of the single player. I loved Battlefront 1, but I was like, I want single player.
Yeah.
And this, I'm like, the fact that it is canon, the fact that it is during an amazing era, not the wrong era. I'm so
There's nothing wrong with that era.
Janina's great
that
too.
era is
so
fantastic.
there's things about it that are good. There's things about it that are bad. There's a lot of those.
Yeah,
Watto's
that's
the best.
life, man.
Yeah,
That's true.
exactly.
That is
Take the
true.
sweet with the sour, you know?
So what's your Watto story?
Okay, so I want now my Watto story is simply a desire for a story, and Lucasfilm knows this desire.
Good, as long as you made it known.
I want to write a 1,000-page Watto novel inspired by the great Russian tragedies. We're talking War and Peace. We're talking Dostoevsky, all that stuff,
Okay.
leading to his eventual death of old age and loneliness on the desert planet of Tatooine. How a little baby Watto can grow and experience
Into a
the
horse.
harshness and the coldness of an uncaring galaxy
Sure.
to turn him into such a
Slaver.
slaver,
Yeah.
money grubbing, and really, and why does he even need slaves? He basically runs what, a pawn shop? I mean, let's
Sure.
be honest. Like,
Well.
why did he need 2 slaves for that?
I mean, that's why we got Cool Greg and Kevin. I don't know. We could
like,
probably do this on our own,
it's
but we
like,
need them.
It's not like he had a lot of customers in there. What's Annie doing? He's just working a
Tinkering,
stall.
yeah.
And what does he need the mom
C-3PO.
for?
This
I
is
don't
where you
know.
come in. You're gonna explain what they do with all
exactly.
these people.
And I need 1,000 pages to do
Sure,
it.
sure.
It's going to be very slow and boring, but it's going to really touch
get
the
there in the
heart.
end,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And that's all. It's about the journey. Like with most video games, you just got to get through that first 15 hours, man. Then it's really
Then
going
it
to
gets
get
good.
really
Then it
good.
gets
Yeah.
good.
Too.
So that I've wanted, I don't know why, but Watto for some reason just strikes me as one of the least likable characters in the Star Wars galaxy
Sure.
in a way that really appeals to me. And so
There's
I
something
actually-
going on there.
Yeah,
I love that you've
really-
actually put thought into a
Oh,
Watto
absolutely.
story.
I put that. This is the great thing about Star Wars. Once you start writing Star Wars, you can't help it. Your mind begins to suddenly craft all these other stories because, unlike anything else I've ever written, Star Wars genuinely feels like I am writing a story within something larger. And that's the crazy thing about it is, like, if you think of it like a tapestry, it's something that this guy named George just started like knitting, you know, back in the 70s and got really far into it and then was like, I'm gonna go do something else, you guys, and just started handing off needles to people. And people are coming in and you're now knitting into that tapestry. And like for a little bit, I got to take over. And already, like, patterns that I put into there, other people with their needles are like threading off into their own parts of the tapestry, and it's going to just keep going. And no other, with the exception of, like, you know, comic books.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else out there that really continues to grow like that. And it's been such a cool, surreal experience to be a part of it and to know that Mitch and I were able to just come up with these little ideas, seeds of ideas and characters and things, and they're already growing out on their own. Because you have the great prequel novel written by Christy Golden, Inferno Squad, that came out in July, that kind of sets up the whole story of Battlefront 2. But I mean, you know, in Lucasfilm, it's not a spoiler to say, but Lucasfilm has said, you know, these are characters that we can continue and are going to continue to tell stories around. Like, they are now an important part of this galaxy and universe, and that's just so cool. And you hope that there isn't a 5-year-old right now that in 30 years is going to be an executive at a company that purchases Lucasfilm from Disney and goes, oh,
We're
the
wiping it
canon is out.
It's not canon.
done.
So how does the
I'll
prep?
never forgive Janina for skipping that second half of the gag.
How does the prep look like for writing a Star Wars game? Because with all of the now Legends content there, like, did you go back and look at any of that, or did you just look at what's canon?
I only looked at canon because Mitch had read all the Legends stuff, and I had only ever read Tales of the Bounty Hunters. My grandmother gave it to me for Christmas one year, and I read it, and I liked it. But like, when you go to the bookstore and you look at the Star Wars shelf, that's a lot of books, and
That's
it's intimidating.
intimidating.
Especially because they're not numbered. You don't know where to start. You don't know what's
It's
going
the problem
on.
so many people have with comics. Where
Yeah,
you walk in
exactly.
like, where do I start? What
Exactly.
do I do?
So I just went into the new canon stuff. As soon as I knew it was going to happen, I started watching all of Clone Wars, which I hadn't seen, and started watching Rebels. I picked up all the books and comics that were out, and I've now read all of them.
Comics are so good.
They're really good. I love what Marvel's doing with those. But yeah, and so I just started absorbing it. And this was the other cool thing about that is as you're doing that, inside you, the story you're writing, it doesn't feel like you're writing in a vacuum anymore. It's like, this isn't my Star Wars story. This really, like, this is happening at the same time as this comic where it's happening over here, or this book over here. And so you're beginning to take ideas and like loops and things that maybe weren't fully closed and like, hey, what if we could tie into this somehow? What if we could do this? Like, I don't know if you know this, but thanks to Christy Golden's novel, Janina's character, Iden Versio, she's in A New Hope. She's the first TIE fighter pilot that we see in the battle, Yavin at the Death Star, which means technically I've now retroactively created the Star Wars franchise. And that's amazing to me.
God, that is so cool.
Right? They owe me so many royalties.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, a lot, you would think it would be intimidating. And at first when you're thinking about it, it is, but as soon as you talk to the Lucasfilm people, they're so welcoming. They're so open. They're such amazing collaborators. They have so many ideas and they want to work with you on things. And like, you'll take an idea and they'll be like, we love it. You can't do that. And we can't tell you why. But you could maybe do these other 3 things. Because, I mean, here, they're balancing not just your story, every single story in production that's going across all the different mediums of Star Wars.
Wow.
And they have in their mind all the stuff that's already out as well. And they have all the EU stuff in their mind. So they'll be like, you can do that, but it's kind of broaching on some EU thing. I think it's fine. I think we can do that. It's not going to feel repetitive. And so like they're giving and taking with you and all this stuff. And you feel like you really are working with Lucasfilm hand in hand. Because when you're walking into a relationship with a big company like that, with one of the biggest IPs of all time, you don't know what it's going to be like. You're kind of expecting to be shackled and for someone to
That's
be
what I would
like,
think.
yeah. And it's nothing like that at all. It's honestly been the best creative experience of my career.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that because it comes out in November. I mean, it doesn't need me to say that. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I could have fucked it up majorly. I didn't. And it would still sell 20 million units because it's Star Wars. So that also kind of takes a lot of the pressure off too. You're like,
It's going to be fine.
it's like, I probably won't sink this. If I do, wow, okay, then that's really bad. But we didn't, again. So, yeah.
How does Mitch come into the fray?
So Mitch and I are co-writers. Mitch is on-site at Motive. He's a full-time Motive employee. I'm contract. Technically, you could say I'm lead writer. Mitch is junior writer just because it's his first game. But I consider us co-writers because Mitch has done so much of the heavy lifting of this game and has been so involved with all of the meetings and all of the office politics and all this stuff.
And he knows Star Wars.
And oh my God, does he know Star Wars. It's so wonderful to have my own walking Star Wars encyclopedia. I don't even have to look at Wikipedia. I just go, hey, Mitch, what language does a Drabatus speak? I need to know. Thank you. That's great. Who can speak basic? Can you radio people when you're in hyperspace? I don't know these things, but Mitch Dyer does. And so he's been fantastic. And like the story, working with him, the story is better. Every idea I put out, he's able to spin it through both like the lens of Mitch and the context of all the Star Wars stuff that he knows, and just make it better through his enthusiasm and his talent. And it's honestly, this might be why it never felt overwhelming. Mitch and I were friends before we worked together on this. And so in a lot of ways, it doesn't feel like I wrote Star Wars. It feels like I hung out with my friend and we dicked around making up Star Wars stories.
Nice.
That's what it feels like. It didn't feel real until we saw our names in the back of Christy Golden's book and we were like, why are our names in touching Star Wars? That's not a thing that should happen. That's weird. We had our first meeting at a big summit down at EA about it, and we were in this big auditorium with all these Star Wars people, and we looked at each other, we're like, I feel like the cops are gonna throw us out any moment. Like, we should not be allowed to be in this room with these people. And you get over that really fast, though, because they just welcome you in. And it's crazy. You would think that Star Wars would be one of the hardest things to write. And it really has turned out to be the easiest, and I love it. And so, hopefully, I'll get to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But even if I don't, I already did it.
You did it, yeah, right? It's on,
Yes.
it's done. No one can take it away from you.
Well, and not only that,
Well,
I mean,
whoever buys LucasArts could take it.
Yeah, I can say it like easily. You're writing what, at least to me, is the most interesting hole that we have right now
Yes.
in the canon.
Absolutely.
Because we've had so obviously episode 6 happens, and then there's 30 years.
30 years.
Before 7.
Yep.
But then it's like the Emperor dies in 6. Spoiler alert. Then it's like, what happens there? Like, what happens to the Empire? It eventually becomes the First Order.
Yes.
But how? Like, what happens
we
in
have
that
Chuck
gap?
Wendig's Aftermath trilogy that picks up immediately at Endor, going to the Battle of Jakku. So it's like the first year after Jedi, and those were that trilogy of books that came
And then
out.
there's the Shattered Empire, right? The
Shattered Empire, the comic that kind of...
It's 4 issues and doesn't really go too far.
Yeah, and that's like right at the immediate moment.
Yep.
But also that's covering all the Rebel side. We're coming in from the Empire side because we wanted to really explore this idea. Because when we watch the movies, we've only seen the Empire from like the top level. The assholes who are in charge are corrupt and evil, and they wear bathrobes and shoot people with lasers, and that's bad. We wanted to see an Empire story from the side of the people who grew up in it, who would see the Empire as something good because maybe on their home planet is one of the stable ones where the Empire has brought peace to a bad planet, or they just simply bought the indoctrination like you do in a situation like that. But these are people who thought the Empire is a good thing. Rebels are terrorists. We're trying to bring peace to the galaxy after the Clone War. This is good. We want to help. And that's for me as a writer, that's an interesting story to tell. Because when you're inside a corrupt machine, you don't necessarily know that it is corrupt. And you don't know that it is using you in a corrupt way to do corrupt things. And maybe you do, and you're still a believer. You're still one of those, well, lesser of two evils. This is still better for the galaxy as a whole. So that's where the story that we're telling with Inferno Squad and Janita's character, Iden Versio, and beginning to fill in that gap of what it's like when the Empire loses its Emperor, loses its Death Star for the second time, and is now facing a rebellion that's organizing around a new republic and completely taking hold of the galaxy once again. And it is the most interesting gap. And and with 30 years, clearly there's a lot of stuff to fill in there. And I can basically stop talking about that right now. That's about as far as I can go.
That I know this must be public because I know it somehow. Well, there's
one thing right there.
But I mean, the story takes place over the 30 years, right? Like it goes from Death Star 2 to Starkiller Base in 7.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I know.
I'm so excited for this.
Let me tell you, when I walked in the first meeting and they're like, okay, so it's going to span 30 years from here to here, and it needs to follow one character. You can't freeze them in carbonite.
There you go.
You've got a week. Come up with a story. Oh, okay, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye. Yeah, it was that was the most daunting thing. Like, cover 30 years. Go. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got some questions from the audience.
Let's do it. Let's go.
You can go to kindoffunny.com/gamescast to leave your topics, just like a whole bunch of these people did. Blessing Jr. So, we already answered this. How nerve-wracking is the pressure writing?
Sucks to be you, Blessing Jr.
Sorry, but we said your name. Blessing Jr.
And another one here. Jason, want to know what limitations does working with such a big IP put on you when writing?
Fuck you, Jason.
Answer that as well. Our Corlett wants to know if there was a sequel to Spec Ops, what would it have looked like?
Oh, that's a question.
Yeah, that is a good one.
So here's the thing.
Here we go.
I didn't want there to be a sequel to Spec Ops, which is why I killed all the characters. That was a conscious choice because I didn't want us to get near the end of production and for someone in PR marketing to go, what big city could they go to next and what crazy weather can it be?
Yeah.
Can they go to Vegas and it's in a tsunami? No, I didn't. Absolutely. Everyone dies. Everyone dies. But I still had to come up with ideas for sequels. And so I did have some. And then there was an unproduced narrative DLC that would have served as a sequel as well.
Interesting.
So none of these went any further than the idea phase. Well, the DLC actually got written into a script. But so I'll give you two of the sequels. One would have been we just never go back to anything like Spec Ops again. We ditch the Spec Ops title, we move forward with The Line, and that comes like the through line of what these type of games would be about people being put in situations that are very extreme, that they are not prepared, and the dark choices that they may have to face over the course of that, and not necessarily make it a military shooter. But the idea was that we would stick with that, and maybe our main character would be an older retired soldier, possibly out of shape, overweight. For some reason I was really interested in playing as a fat, out of shape guy in a game.
Can't run that far.
Yeah,
gotta catch your breath.
I was really wanting to let's get really artistic with this. Let's go deep.
Can't pick up guns easy.
I already made them kill innocent civilians. Now let's make them play themselves. Sorry.
I live that life every day.
We both do.
There's too many stairs to come into this office. Why do we have so many stairs?
There's a lot of stairs. It's true.
So there was a sequel that went that way. And then there was a sequel of what could possibly happen if You got the ending where Walker goes home. Where are we picking up with Walker? And he has he's dropped out of the military now. He's like a one of those like Blackwater mercs.
Okay.
But he's not the character that you're playing as. He becomes like the secondary character, and you were like,
Raiden?
also just forgive me straight up for this is not a great idea, but you're playing like a nun in like a third world country doing relief, and there's like pirates, and you're kidnapped, and like he rescues you, and it's like a duo thing instead of like a 3-man squad.
Okay.
But it's like the things that now this like woman of God is having to face and do and choices make, and she's got this like recovering devil backing her up and supporting her, more of a kind of like enslaved a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Like and then the DLC was if Adams survived because he dies at the end of the game when that helicopter crashes on him. The idea was that he gets the explosion of the crashing helicopter knocks him off of the building. It burns him. It scars him pretty bad, but he's still alive, and he wakes up the next day super pissed that he's alive because he wanted to die. And now he's just like, well, fuck, what do I do? And he's like, I guess I just leave. And so he steals a dead 33rd soldier's uniform, puts it on, pretends he's one of the damn 33rd, and just starts walking out. And on his way out, he comes across a young member of the 33rd who reminds him of Lugo. And he's like, you know what, fuck it. I came here to save people. If I get this one guy out, then maybe all this shit we did will actually be worth it. I'm going to get this guy out of the storm. I'm going to take him home so he can see his family again. And that's it. I'm done. No more. And he does, and he gets him out. And then he gets on his walkie-talkie to call in the evac thing. This character's name is Pozo, figures out, oh shit, you're Delta, and draws a gun on him. And Adams is just like, hit me right. He reports himself wounded, probably not going to make it to the evac team. He's like, hit me right here below the heart. I'll bleed out before they get here. And he's like, why? He's like, because I can't fucking do this anymore. And Pozo shoots him, and he dies. The end. And that's the end of it. And that would have been the Spec Ops sequel. It was super bleak. My now wife, who had not been with me over the 5 years of making that game, I had to leave her to go write that for 2 weeks, and I sent her the script one night to read when it was finished, and she calls me up in Germany. She goes, I understand now. I see why you are the way you are. I can't believe you've had to write something like this for 5 years. And I was like, thank you so much. Because it was like coming off that game was hard. When you're in that headspace for that long and you're crunching crazy hours, and not only that, you're living like I was crunching in a country that wasn't mine. I had none of my stuff, none of the small creature comforts that keep you together. That was all gone. I was just, I had family in the hospital. I had all this stuff going on, and I was just on the other side of the world and was just slowly losing my mind. When you put all that together, at the end, you're just broken. You're done. Like, I literally ran away from my job, hoping they would fire me. I went home to California, went to my boss, said, I'm going to take a 3-week vacation. And he said, good, I think you need it. I went to my apartment, I packed up all my stuff, called a moving truck, shipped it to Dallas, got on a plane, flew there, rented an apartment the next day, called him up, said, bring it to this address. 3 weeks later, flew out to California, went to my boss's office. How was your vacation? It was great. I live in Dallas now. You can fire me if you want to. That's a very valid thing to do. And the motherfucker did not do that. And so I finished Spec Ops because I was still employed. But I was the thing, like I was so hooked into it, I couldn't. I as much as I wanted to be over, I couldn't walk away from it. I did not have the strength. I'd been saying for like 2 years, if we have to delay again, I'm going to quit. And it was a lie. I didn't think it was a lie when I said it, but it turned out to be a lie. You get so hooked into it, and you put so much of yourself into it. And this is why I feel terrible when I hear about games that have gone on for 10 years. Because there's people on that team. It's that sunk cost fallacy. Like, I've put so much. I gotta
finish it at this point, right?
Exactly.
It's like when you play a game that you don't enjoy, but you're so deep, you're like, I'm gonna finish this, or a movie or a book or whatever. You gotta see it through. And
so, I mean, we're lucky. Oh my God, we're so lucky that Spec Ops ended up being worth seeing it through. In some ways, like, look, it didn't set the world on fire with sales. I would classify it as a cult hit because it certainly got critically acclaimed, and that was wonderful. We loved that. Everyone loved that. And also, since it wasn't our personal money that paid to get it made, it was someone else's millions of dollars. The fact that it might have lost, I don't think it's lost money now, but when it first came out, people were like, oh, that's not selling what we had hoped.
Yeah.
But you get over that, and you move forward, and you're like, well, what's the next thing? And clearly none of them were going to be Spec Ops 2. Thank God, because those were all Not great idea.
I feel like, I mean, yeah, again, who cares about the money? It's not your money kind of thing. But the critical acclaim and the fact that people were talking about what a great story is, I feel like that's one of the stories with Spec Ops. I mean, like the meta story is the fact that even if you never played Spec Ops The Line, you've heard us talk about it. You've heard Giant Bomb talk about it. You've heard the industry as a whole. Like, that was the story that was really fucking cool. And you know about it. And you know that you wrote it. And like,
Absolutely.
right, that's the benefit of it, even if it didn't fucking sell 1 million units and get a sequel and make people go crazy.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's, I mean, you're only, what you want is you want to make something that's going to affect people. You want them to play your game, get the message that you had, and walk away with it feeling the way that you wanted them to feel, and to know that they were touched by it, that they were affected by it. Ultimately, you don't care how many people did. Like, at the time, I was in the publishing side, so I'm not, no matter how good I did or how good the game did, I'm not in any royalty scheme. I'm not getting any money out of it. It's all entirely just my name and my work, and so I want it to be as good as it possibly can be.
Sure.
And which is also kind of why I have a tendency to give into crunch a lot. Like, that's, I don't, and maybe this is, I don't know, maybe other people think this way, but I never take for granted that there's going to be another game. That, like, this could be the last one anyone lets me write. So, like, I got to put everything into it. Like, what if this is the last thing I ever get to say that people hear? Like, I got to put it out there, and whatever I have to do to make it the best I possibly can, I got to do that.
Sure.
And so it tends to lean into, I can lean into some unhealthy practices when doing that. But
it's funny you mentioned that crunch thing.
That's right. Crunch.
And there's in this book, Significant Zero, you talk about crunch.
I do.
And how you like it a lot.
I do.
And I feel like that snippet got published on Polygon recently.
It did, and you know what? People loved it. They really got what I was going for. Like, the outpouring of love and support from the gaming community was just, it warmed my heart.
It was such a vacuum moment for me of waking up, like, I went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, I'm looking at the phone, and it wasn't you had tweeted, somebody else, and maybe just Polygon in general, and I was like, oh, and I clicked, and I read, and I tweeted out, I'm like, man, that was awesome. What a great piece of writing, and what a great, I always talk about it for what we do, of just like commentating on the industry, but never making a game, not knowing what that's like, to have a fresh perspective, have a fresh set of eyes on this, with a perspective I don't ever hear about crunch, right? I was like, oh, how great. And then it was like, let's look at the rest of the feed. I'm like, oh my God, everyone's pissed.
Yo, they were so upset. Look, when I wrote it, I knew it would be contentious, because you're right. It's not, we don't talk about crunch openly in that way a lot. And I was okay with that because I felt like it needed to be said. Because here's the thing. I like crunch. I shouldn't like crunch. It's absolutely unhealthy, and I like it because of my unhealthy tendencies. But I know there are other people like me, and no one out there says when we talk about crunch, hey, I get it. I'm the same way. You're not broken. You're not weird. I know everyone around you is talking about how this is really fucking evil. Yeah. And you're like, but I kind of like it. That doesn't mean, like, I wanted those people to read it and know that they weren't alone, and that's okay. Sure. And those people, I got a lot of private messages from people saying that. They're like, hey man, holy shit, thank you for it. Like, I finally, for the first time in a long time, feel like someone understands this stuff. And so that made me feel really good. And then there were people who were like, I'm going to show your shit writing to my class so I can explain to them why they never need to go into video games. And that made me feel good too, because it's nice to make a difference.
I changed lives that day. I changed lives.
So, but ultimately, like, I'm lucky. I live in Louisiana now. I don't have to get up and go to an office full of game people every day. I don't have to walk down the street and run into half my industry. So, I was physically separated from it, which helped. I would get a little bummed out, and then I'd think, I don't fucking know these people. I've been seeing these people today. I don't care. They can hate me. That's fine.
Well, it's also just the normal thing of like, it was what we were mad about that day. Like, you know what I mean? And like, when you get to E3, people are going to talk to you about it, but they're not going to be like, hey, motherfucker. Yeah. You know, like, I didn't agree with that piece, and here's why.
It was very interesting to be the object of hate for a day. Oh, yeah. From like a purely academic National Geographic standpoint, I was like, this is intriguing. Yeah. Like, because you see how people mess it up when that happens. Because my first instinct is, like I've said earlier, I'm just going to fucking throw it all out. And I was like, no, what if I don't? Yeah. What if I just explain what I was trying to do and then stop? Just don't say anything else. Yeah. Because that's all I mean, honestly, that's what the piece needed. It got published without me seeing exactly what the context would be or the title. I didn't want to make that the story on the day that it came out, because ultimately I still wrote it. Those were my words, and even though you don't have the context of the rest of the book, I'm not going to try and throw someone else under the bus simply because that context isn't there. Like I got to own it, and we got to try to steer the conversation towards at least what it was about. And that ultimately happened. I tweeted out a bunch of stuff. They added to the article, and a lot of people saw it and were like, oh, this is very different than how I first read it.
Yeah.
And that was nice to see. But at the end of the day, what I was trying to do was write a piece about crunch that showed our complex relationship with it by talking about my complex relationship with it and just being honest about how I really let it destroy my life a lot of the time. And it was a very rough 5, 6, 7 years for me.
Yeah.
I still have physical issues that I'm dealing with from I'd have a disc in my neck replaced. Like I couldn't sit or stand for longer than 5 minutes. I was in constant searing pain. I lost all feeling in both of my arms for like 4 months. It was I like when the first day that happens, you're like, oh, that's a heart attack. And then when you're not dead and it just keeps going, you're like, I have no idea what this is, but I could cut myself with a knife right now and feel nothing. And so you kind of adjust to the shittiness, and that's kind of the biggest issue with crunch, is that you make it your new normal, and so it can go longer and longer, and you're doing more and more damage. You're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't fully acknowledge how crunch works in the industry. We simply say, crunch is bad, and it is. We look at it from a systemic side and as a way of workers possibly being exploited, but we don't take into account all the people the studios that are making great games that we love, that are absolute masterpieces, and how those games totally trash the lives and the minds of the people making them for an extended period of time. Because if they don't talk about the crunch, we don't know about the crunch. But it's out there and it's happening. A game like Last of Us that's so fantastic, that game didn't get made by people doing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It just isn't possible. But that's passion, and we're okay with passion because that's how we can look at crunch and go, well, it benefits me in the long run. I really like what they did. It's passion, and they seemed okay with it. And if they're okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that feels weird. That feels a little I don't want to say hypocritical, but that's kind of the best word I can come up with right now. And so I wanted us to kind of start thinking in that way, and that's where that part of the book was coming from. So yeah, I'm glad people liked it. Ultimately.
I liked it, like I said.
And I saw your tweet, and honestly, that meant the world to me. I really was happy to see that you had read it and liked it. So, in that day, that was a little.
There's your silver lining.
It was a
to your
silver lining
shit cloud of drama.
Final question.
Okay.
This comes from my dude, Barrett Courtney. What games this generation have stood out to you for their writing?
Oh, man. Okay, The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption.
Nice.
Red Dead Redemption might be my favorite game of all time.
Wow.
And you and I have talked on Twitter a bit about Grand Theft Auto. Does nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. I know you love them.
I enjoy it. Yeah, I have a great time with Grand Theft Auto.
But it's a fantasy I don't need because I have for most of the past 10 years lived in major metropolitan cities.
Sure.
Admittedly, I have never stolen a tank and driven it through the middle of one, but I have been stuck in traffic before. And if I wanted to, I could probably rent a Lamborghini if I just really needed to. But Red Dead Redemption, I cannot get on a horse and ride it through a beautiful countryside and go skin a wildcat. That thing would kill me. But I can do that in the game, and I love it. And also, I'm from the South, so it kind of attaches into that whole kind of west
Back to the
thing.
earth where we came from
Exactly.
kind of thing. Yeah.
And the ending of Red Dead Redemption is, and I'm not even talking about the epilogue. I mean that 4th chapter where you finish up all your work, and it's like, cool, you wanted a family and a farm? Here you go. You get that now. That's the ballsiest thing. I made people kill 47 innocent women and children with white phosphorus, and letting you play as a rancher for an hour and a half is the ballsiest thing a video game company has ever done, and I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because that's what every video game misses, is the payoff. They give you all these things you're supposed to care about. Oh, your wife and kids back home that you're never going to see or talk to. Now you're a full-dimensional character. No, you're not. And Rockstar understood that. They said, it's not a real dream, it's not a real goal unless you get it at the end. And then we're going to take it from you. And in that moment, here's the thing. This is what I love about games like that. And the ending of Last of Us did the same thing. It taught me something about myself. And this is why I like games with characters instead of just an avatar that's about, oh, you're the player, you're so strong. I don't know, I'm not. I'm an asshole. I don't need to play as me. I'm not fun. I have to live with me every day. I want to play as someone else. I want to see how I feel going through their experiences. And at the end of Red Dead Redemption, when I walk out of that barn and those men were standing around and they knew I knew what was going to happen and I knew what was going to happen, the first thought that went through my head was, fuck them. They want to kill me, they can kill me. I fought my fight, I changed who I am, and I'm gonna die that man. And I stood there waiting, and no one drew. And it took just long enough for no one to draw that I said to myself again, fuck it. I'll be the monster. I'm going to take down as many of these motherfuckers as I can if I'm going to die. And I opened fire. And I got like 3 or 4 before they gunned me down. But in that moment, what I learned from that is that I'm the type of guy who can get kind of proud about wanting to change, but ultimately at the end of the day,
Same asshole.
yeah, it's a hard.
That is real.
It's a real lesson to learn about yourself. I'm gonna get about 90% of the way there, but when it's time to, clear holster, I'm probably gonna do it. And it was the same with The Last of Us. I know so many of my friends. Did you both play it? And
Yeah.
beat it?
Oh, yes.
How did you feel about that final mission? Because I know a lot of my other friends felt very betrayed. They really.
What I always talk about is I finished it and immediately texted Neil, and I was like, I was the bad guy. I'm the bad guy, and he's like, you're not the bad guy. Joel's not the bad guy. This is open interpretation. I'm like, no, it's not. He just fucked humanity. Like, no. And like we argued about that, and like that's the thing of like so many people. Well, and then it'd be like, as a father, I would have done the same thing, and like it's fascinating the way people did that. I gave him so much credit for having the balls of. I was talking about it when I got there, and I mean, come on, fuck, you didn't play The Last of Us. When you walk into the hospital room, I walked in and he has the gun drawn, and I waited for the choice. I was like, oh, where I'm gonna get it? Are you gonna? And it didn't happen. I got shot and I was killed, and they were like, you failed, do it again. And I was like, I have to do. Holy shit! And like games are always about choice and this and which ending is true. And Naughty Dog was like, we have a story to tell. You have to do this here. And I was
I'm all
like,
about
fuck.
I love that. You see, for me though, and I didn't have a child yet.
Yeah.
When I played it, I got into that mission. I was like, I get it. I totally get it. I would 100%. I am this selfish. I would 100% do this.
Yeah.
I would let the world burn so that I could keep having a life with this person that I've grown to care that much about.
Yeah.
And that's another. To be fair, all of the revelations games have given me about myself have not been good revelations. I've discovered I am a very. Don't put me in a situation with a gun where I have to protect my loved ones, I guess. I don't know. But I loved that a game made me see myself in a different way and relate to a character in a way that my other friends weren't relating to it. And that's what I long for when I sit down to play a game. I want that kind of meaningful experience. 100%. And now what I want is us to be able to do that with the reverse side of the emotional spectrum. Because here's the thing, we're like goth kids who just discovered poetry in high school. We're like, oh, we're gonna make you feel sad. Like that we can make you scared. That's what we can hit on. We have yet to figure out how we can make you feel hopeful. How we can make you put down a game and feel like, yeah, you know what, fuck, I'm gonna go out in the real world, I can do anything because I made it through the end of this game. We have yet to flip that reverse. I think it's partly because most of our games are about punching or shooting people until they die. And that's a hard thing to turn into a positive message at the end. But I think we're going to get there. We've taken that first necessary step with narrative, and it's going to start happening. Probably, I would say, the first one's already being developed right now. I don't know which one it's going to be. Maybe it's Star Wars Battlefront 2. Who knows? But
when we get to the cheesy, hokey ending that she's like, oh, I was bad all along, but now I'll make the good decision. I'll die a good guy. I already know how the fucking game's going to end. I know what you do to these dark side people. Let them be the Empire for life. Bad guys for life.
yeah, sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Walt, thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I've wanted to be on this show and come meet you guys for so long.
God, this was great. And all of my Twitter's blowing up about how amazing job you did on Beyond. So definitely check out Beyond as well. But yeah, thank you for coming through. Your book,
Significant Zero.
September 19th.
September 19th, pre-order now. Or just buy it on day one.
Whatever you want to do, just make sure you get it.
Maybe Watto's in the next game.
Who knows? Who knows? It might be, the secrets might be in the book.
If you can make it a bestseller, I will put Watto in the next game.
DLC.
Until next time, I love you.